how I mix color, and you can mix it too. This is going to be easy enough for beginners. If you're painting with me at all, this is going to make all your lessons this year and in previous years so much easier. You're going to love it. On the mic is my husband, John.
Hello.
Now, I have to take a little moment and shine some light on him because I do these videos a lot, and we do a lot of art education. It's our passion. We love it. We love sharing art. I couldn't do it without John. So much of this show, this amazing, crazy show, appears seamless, appears perfect, and you don't realize how often, like today, specifically today, I come in with the last thing saying, oh, could you just put all these little texts in the bottom of the bar because it'll help us organize this video for later, and John figures out how to do that. I'm just saying this because you guys never see him, but he's just a power that happens behind the show. The other thing I want to say is to the viewers, if you are brand new to my channel and you have come in here and you're like, oh, I'm so excited to be here. What is this? Like I see specifically like Pam Patterson. She's new here. She's from Canada. She's like, everybody knows each other. Yes. Everybody say hi to Pam. Yeah, we actually do all know each other. And if you're new here, you're going to find it's a very friendly and welcoming place. We are a safe space for all levels of painter. And I literally mean from like never before painted to very experienced painter. If you've got a good heart and you love art, you are a welcome member to our art family. To that end, I would like to say hi to all the people who are here. Like I saw Tammy Edwardson in earlier. We have some people that come every single show. They're about every single lesson. And I want to say thank you for that incredible staunch support. You know, when I read your stories and you guys tell me about how you faced illnesses, how you have your children, how you work your life, and how art helps you do that, that more than anything is the strength with which I go by every day. That's the fuel, right? That's the specific fuel. And, you know, like you, I go through all the things that you guys go through. So don't ever forget that this is like a two-way street because you know, I'm a mom and we got homeschool kids and we're still trying to figure out how to get everybody logged in with the new passwords. So we're there. Let's go into the color. You can show hands.
You ready to go?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I think so. Do you guys, if you guys feel so, I think we're ready to go. Okay.
Little Sherpa now.
Listen, this is a serious art class. Now, actually, like if you're a person who's in university right now and you're studying art, this will actually be helpful too. You know, I was really lucky to be able to take art classes in college, and thanks to my beautiful mom. And I can promise you, this is helpful even if you're there. And I hear that from people very specifically all the time that this was helpful, even when you're going through art education. We're going to cover specifically the palette that I'm using in 2021. It's a split primary palette. I have a whole video about what that is and why that is. It's going to cover every color mix that I tend to make, but I think they're really good color mixes. If you've ever noticed, they're very bright paintings. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm cool, but I'm not the awesomest artist that ever lived. I don't know who that is.
I think you are.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
I watch you every day.
He does watch me every day. He does not, however, watch all the other artists, and there's some pretty tremendous people out there.
I've watched
doing some good work.
I like to stay self-objective on our work. I try to look at other folks.
All right. So we do have this organized into colors and schemes and thoughts. I've been asked several times not to rush through it, especially for the very new artists. So we are going to, even though I'm very high energy, don't worry, we're going to pace ourselves through that. Let's go over the colors just real quick, just in case this is your first time here and you're not wondering, like, does this lady have anything to offer me? I do. But let me prove it to you. All right, so this is quinacridone magenta and cad red. Those are our split primary reds. This is a warm red and a cool red. And again, I have more videos. They are in my How Mixed Color list. They're color wheel lists. I've got every playlist. I make little playlists all the time. It's like a whole thing for me. Like people did Beanie Babies, I do playlists. I've got Tight Knit Yellow and Cad Yellow Medium. Tight Knit Yellow in my palette is also sometimes called Naples Yellow. I used to call this Yellowgate because it caused a lot of stress. But to address that, we wrote a blog just to explain it, and the mods can share that with you. Mods are the butterflies with the wrenches, and their whole job is to be awesome. But remember, they are viewers just like you. I have to shine some light on them too. They show up every show, and they know where the links are, and they do this work, and it is volunteer, and they're just artists like you who are passionate like you. So a lot of love to the mods today as I move my yellows to the side. I have two blues. I have ultramarine blue and phthalo blue. Now, in this, I don't like to separate up the blues into warm and cool. And the reason is there's a lot of argumentative information on the internet that kind of sets you up as a student to be confused, right? Is ultramarine warmer than phthalo blue green shade? And everyone's going to have an opinion, and some of them are super solid and some of them are super sketchy. So my workaround for this, just to keep our lives simple and less chaotic, is to tell you that this blue is biased green and this blue is biased red. And then you can, in your mind, separate it up how you like, but I'll tell you in the action of painting, phthalo blue tends to be more visually exciting and come forward. I use ultramarine blue as a shadow all the time, and so that's how I approach those colors. Outside of the wonderful, amazing, brilliant color theory that's out there, that's just functionally how we use those colors. I have phthalo green. It's kind of a convenience color, but I use it a lot. And if you're color mixing with me, it's really useful. But if you're just painting in the world, it's a really useful color to have in the palette. I'm going to show you how to get the most out of it, and it's a really versatile color. I have dioxazine purple. I acknowledge the truth that this may be just a color I inherited from my mother. It may be, but it's one that I can't live without. Like, it may be an inheritance color. Sometimes if you have multi-generations of artists, your palettes have some similarities before, as a young person, you go out and find your own way. And Docs definitely stuck with me. But here's what, you can't mix it. Exists in a very special place on the color wheel. It doesn't even have an obvious complement. So it's good to have on your palette, and it's a very powerful purple. Like, it can go from black to lavender. You could do a monochromatic painting with it. It's such a pigmented color. I have burnt sienna. Look, I got a whole video on how to make brown. There are hundreds of ways to get to brown with just primer colors even, but it's still nice to have on the palette because you don't want to be mixing brown like that sometimes all the time, especially when we're doing Acrylic April. I have titanium white. You know I love zinc white, but for the purposes of my students, to create a consistent, cohesive curriculum, even though we don't really do curriculum because I don't do grades or any of that, but I want you guys to know what you can buy and what classes you can take and how they work together. So while I do, from previous videos, love zinc, this year it's all titanium white. This class is titanium white, and Acrylic April is titanium white. Mars black, right? So this black is kind of a modern black. It's highly pigmented. It's a little bit matte. It's the one I like to use. Lamp black tends to be just so super, super deep and can be a little bit shiny. You can use lamp black or Mars black. Bone black isn't tinting enough, but I do recommend Mars black. So hopefully Brenda has been given the email address, and I see people cheering John. I got to catch up to the chat. Sometimes I try to look at the comments and see how you guys are doing. Like, I see Sandy is always helpful to do refreshers. Our minds, especially my old mind, tends to forget the little things that made painting easier. I love that. That's very sweet. You're like, especially my old mind. But, we all need refreshers. Where, at 16, my daughter still needs refreshers. I'm sure I'm going to need refreshers. And remember, with those few weird little things we forgot that we never needed to know comes great wisdom. And with great wisdom comes a lot of character in your artwork. So it's a good thing. All right, catching up. You guys chat so fast. Rebecca Bender, what are the differences in light, medium, and deep colors, and are they interchangeable? The differences are actually pretty significant, and they're not interchangeable. And it would be really easy as a beginner to be like, cad yellow medium, cad yellow deep, and cad yellow light should be interchangeable. Cad yellow light has a green bias. Cad yellow medium is a little bit warm, but it's closer to a primary middle, and cad yellow deep is quite orange. So they will color mix super different for you. And that's a great question to ask, right? Because you wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
Because you can't know all the things. So whatever you don't know today, if you don't know that red and yellow make orange, except sometimes they don't, Um, that's why we do a split primary ballot. That's okay, because it's okay not to know things. What a wonderful time in your life to be discovering something. This poster is my gift to you. This is a free gift from me to you. This is the Dream of Color poster. There is a link in the description. If you go into the description, you'll see the colors listed. They're organized in a really functional way. You will even see like what chapters we're covering in this class. So because it's a bigger class, because it's more comprehensive, that way you can find the information not only later today, but later next year, right? So you can get to what you need. If you're like, man, what was that read? You don't got to watch my whole hour video. You just go to the red, you watch it, you get that information, you download the mini book, you're done. And we are going to make a mini printoutable of this that should be out in a couple weeks that you can do. This is your gift, and it has the colors that we're working with today, and it has a hand-painted out color wheel, and that color wheel kind of tells you some secret things. And if you look like, you notice that the Diox Purple is across from kind of the chartreuse?
Oh, yeah.
That's because Diox Purple isn't really exactly across from yellow.
Where is it?
It's kind of in the yellow-green space because it exists in this weird, if there's a three-dimensional representation of a color wheel that this amazing color theorist did, and it groups the colors where they are in the spectrum, and Diox Purple is in this weird dot out into space with no opposite friend. So you have to kind of look at what's between it, and you go, well, there's some green here and there's some yellow here, and you got to tune it in. By the way, if you're in art school, it's often a test that they give on your understanding of color. So there, you get to pass that.
Purple is
already.
an
I've been
illusion.
useful to you.
Does Payne's Gray fall under bluish gray?
Yes.
It
Yes,
does?
though it can be neutral, and that's really about your mix. One of the things that you will learn very quickly in color is that even among pigments, even like this is PR 122, quinacridone magenta, but depending on how they heat it, how they sourced it, the way they made it, it could be way purple or way more magenta. And that's brand by brand. They all have their kind of weird little flair. You'll notice burnt sienna is not burnt the same way across everybody's paint line. And here's the workaround to that.
Different chefs cooking it.
The workaround to that is be okay with it because it's not going to change anytime soon. You can watch people like myself and other people and kind of see the burnt siennas that we like and pick those. I really like the Sennelier, but it's very different than the golden, which I also really like. And maybe I should do a cool video about that later about how the colors are different across several companies because I think it's an interesting thing.
The many flavors of burnt sienna.
Oh, Chica Chica's asked a very good question. Just for clarification, are we using phthalo blue and red shade for this year? No, green shade. So if you're painting student paints, they never bother you with shades. They just give you the middle. They give you the middle way. And so it's very neutral and mixable with everything. But as you become more versed in your color and you get into professional paints or mid-grade paints, they will start telling you shades. So phthalo blue comes in a green shade and a red shade. Mm-hmm. Also, so does ultramarine come in different shades. So our ultramarine is a red shaded ultramarine, and our phthalo blue is a green shaded phthalo blue. If you watch my studio setup, I explain how to kind of work around that across different paint companies. I'm going to be putting my work in the Fabriano 1264 multimedia technique pad that they sent me. I won't even lie to you. They sent it to me, but I was like, I have use for it. They were like, can't you do anything with it? And I'm like, I think I have an idea of a thing I could use it for. It's a really terrific paper company from Italy, and this is produced green.
One of the great joys that I get to see that no one else gets to see is Cinnamon open a package from an art company. And it's about the closest you can get to a 12-year-old Sherpa that I can see. And to back that up, what I would say is go ahead and try to borrow one of the many duplicate items that she has been sent. She could get like 10 of something, and she's like, no, I might need backup.
I might be a dragon. I might be Smaug. It might be. I mean, I do side with Smaug in The Hobbit. I mean, like, seriously? I'm on Smaug's side the whole way. I always have been since I was a kid. I was like, leave the dragon alone. You don't need the gold.
Before we get to the serious of my reds, I'm just saying that you
Listen,
got some.
We don't want to be serious, Shirley.
Surely not.
Surely not. That was a weird and awkward journey to the way back machine that would make no sense to a whole group of people. And maybe not even to people who were there because I'm so random and strange. Um, Speaking of burnt sienna, why is the pigment code the same for burnt sienna and burnt umber? Because they're both basically the same dirt. Yeah, I know.
Just
it's
cooked
like,
differently?
Well, the burnt siennas, I mean, this is really, for the most part, sienna and umber and raw sienna, these are dirt or earth-based pigments. They're the oldest pigment known to man. And depending on where they're located on the planet, they will have more or less iron. And then also depending on the process that they do of heating and how they heat, it changes the nature of the paint.
Huh.
But yeah, so because the pigment is the pigment is generally a bunch of powdered colored dust. Generally, bunch of powdered colored dust. Now we have some cool, interesting, sciencey things. All right, Sandy is testifying that I have phthalo from a bunch of different companies, and they're just about as different. They're all different and almost as bad as yellows. That's true. Are you ready to put up a step?
Are you ready?
I don't know. Are we ready? Let's come into this. We're gonna do okay. Now, I'm gonna go through this. I am gonna explain it. You are gonna be able to follow along, and it is going to help you. Just hang in with me for a minute, and we're gonna get there. First, I'm gonna tell you about my personal favorite colors that I do. These are unique to me as an artist, but I think should be everywhere in everybody's art palette because they're wonderful. This is cadmium red medium. Right? And you'll see me pull these colors out all the time. This gives my paintings a very unique glow, and I get some really unusual results from this. Works wonderful in sunsets, poppies. If you're not doing a quin red in your palette, like quinacridone plain red, this is also a nice way to go. And let's put out some white so you can see what's going on here. All right. So this is almost a 1-to-1 mix, right? So when I take this, and I'll write up all these little colors like later, I'm going to make my little book up. Maybe we'll make you a little book someday. All right, let's take a little of our red and put it here so we know what we were doing. Right? So we know what was going on. And I'm going to put a little quinacridone magenta here. This also is useful to put out. So if you're testing a different quin or a different cad red, you have a way to test that. I like these two mixed together. Quinacridone magenta and cad red mixed together. Well, I'll tell you what, it's a color from my childhood. See that right there?
Mm-hmm.
It's a color from my childhood. Tomato rose is what my mom used to call it. I had it on my wall once when I was into unicorns. When I add more magenta, it cools it down, but it doesn't take all the way into the quin magenta. And when I add more cad red, it warms it up. It does. Oh, wait. I think I can't drink my coffee. I may have. I think I did. I think I put my brush in the coffee.
You coffeed your.
It's a danger when you drink coffee near your palette. It's a danger, but you don't want to drink cadmium paints, so we're gonna definitely let that go. If you ever thought,
all right, hand it over.
You're not gonna immediately die, but for safety's sake, for persistent practice of safety in your studio, if you have your coffee or drink there and you have cadmium pigments and you think you might have put it in the drink, just dump the drink. Mm-hmm. It's cadmium. Yeah, the artist companies code it so it's not bioavailable, but should we trust them completely? I mean, I don't know. They don't live in my house. I don't see what they do. I mean, I think they're basically good people, but
let's err on the side of caution.
Yeah. Like I think they're basically good people. If they got caught up in a scandal, I would be surprised.
Yep.
But I don't trust them enough, to just be sure. But that's what they say. Colored coffee, says Amy. This is Fabriano 1264 mixed media paper. It's a really good pad if you're doing a lot of different types of art and you want watercolor or pencil or pen or acrylic, because it's just I think it's 180 pounds, which is a really lovely weight. All right, I'm going to take my quinacridone magenta and my cad red, and I'm mixing them 1-to-1, and I'm going to add white, and you're going to see this tremendous pink. I love this pink. This is me. When you pop this against turquoise, it is so perfectly saturated. It just makes everything for me. You know, and what's great about this is you can really see that it gets you to a different pink. You don't really see it till you start adding yellows to it or adding other colors to it. Like, so if I take my cad red here, I'm going to put my cad red out, and then I'm going to add just a little cad red and white together. If you've never seen this before, what you're going to get is a lovely coral.
Oh, it is a lovely coral.
Yeah, it starts to even be in some skin tone areas. Like you might use this if you were painting a fair person on a cold day. You know, I can keep lightening it out. So you can see that's very different than that pink, though, isn't it? These pinks are not the same. And that will go true for the quinacridone. So I'm going to take my little quinacridone out here, and I'm going to mix some pink into it, some white into it. Oh, I should probably put it out and then do the little white thing. Make them the same so when I scan my book, it's neat and tidy. Right? Neat and tidy. So there's our magenta, quinacridone magenta, and our first little pink. And our next little pink. And then a very, very light pink. Whenever you're adding white to paint, what you're doing is tinting. We could come through and add black to these and get an infinite number of blacks with a red bias, which we'll kind of get into a little bit later. All right. Now, this base I can add yellow to. I can add, I'll put out a little yellow so you can see it. It does also a really lovely mix with yellow. So if I do my and some yellow, and I'm just showing you this because you'll see me do this additional quite often, where I'll take a little cad red and a little magenta together and get it into my yellow. It just gives me a tangerine-y little orange that's maybe a little different than what I normally would get. Let's put a little cad red there and magenta so we remember what we did. The reason I sometimes put out the pure pigments in front of a mix is it can be really easy to forget what you did. Really, really, really easy to forget what you did. All right. I should add some yellow to it too. So I can remember. I'll make it tidy in the printable. There you go. So now I know I did some yellow in my mix of that, and that is what we have there. What yellow is that? That is cad yellow medium. So a lot of Naples yellow, the tight knit yellow, is something I do for Acrylic April and I used to do for special paintings. But traditionally, I would do the cad yellow. Is that my phone? I bet it's one of my daughters calling. Live shows, they're the best. So this is cadmium red medium, quinacridone magenta, cad yellow medium, and titanium white. And this is quite a range of colors that you can get into very easily. They're really wonderful. And this is something you'll see me get into in my paintings all the time. Cad red, quinacridone magenta, titanium white, cad red, quinacridone magenta, cad yellow, all the time. All right.
All right.
Now we're going to do my skies. So I'm going to put out my phthalo blue green shade. I'm going to also put out some ultramarine. This is for oceans and kind of bright skies and those just beautiful days that we sometimes have out into the world. Okay. So these are, I haven't stormed the sky at all. So
now, is this
bright day, blue day, good day?
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
Are these blues for oceans and
Yes. Oh, let's put up the bumper. Blues for oceans and sky. So this blue for ocean and sky this is a bright day. This is landscaping. You know, you're out on the beach. The sun is out. Things are good. Winter clear days, neutral days on high mountains, those types of skies. So my first mix, and also waters, all the ocean waters, lots of ocean colors here. So basically, the first part of the mix is I'm going to take a little phthalo blue, using my paper towel to make sure things are clean. I got my eddings because I thought I was going to label, and then I didn't label because I was like, I know my colors by sight. And a little phthalo green. So they're pretty much cousins here. This is green shade and this is blue shade, so there really isn't a hidden primary in there. And when you mix them together 1-to-1, you get phthalo turquoise, which is a color, is a pre-mixed color you can buy. You can buy phthalo turquoise. I'm going to get a little white into it. And sometimes it's called Southern Ocean Blue, like in Matisse's color line, it's called Southern Ocean Blue. I'm adding a little white. Come here and add just a little more white. And you can see that really goes quite turquoise. Isn't it just lovely?
It is.
You can bias into the green, or you can bias back into the blue. And that gives you, look, right there is a lot of colors for your ocean. From this blue and this green and all these ranges, that would be a lot to begin with. That's a lot of colors for your skies. That's a lot to work with, and it's unique. In those mixes, those two colors do that. Oh, so how do you do Pacific Ocean? We're going to actually get into those in some, and I'm actually going to break out videos like all the blues and greens I make for oceans and all that. This is like our basic core kind of color theory, and then we're going to keep pulling out videos where we really get deep dived into all those micro mixes and places that we go with colors, because like you can get Doc's purple into it and a lot of colors. How do I measure 1-to-1 for mixing? Very simple. Whatever your 1 is, if I do that much blue, I have to do that much green. 1-to-1 means whatever amount you put out, match that amount. If you double it, if I was to say twice as much green, I will put out 2 amounts. Right? And that would bias it green. So that's how we do that. Yeah. And that's just, the reason I'll say 1-to-1 is I'm not in your house. I'm not in your tube of paint. I'm not with your brushes. You've got to determine where your 1 is. It's a little free will based. I'm missing my coffee. The other color
I'll work on that
mix that I like to do is I like to get into a little phthalo blue. And, oh, no, you can be here. It's okay. I can live without. I'll survive. It's all right. I will have a sip of yours because we're almost drinking the same color. And I'm going to put out my ultramarine blue. And hopefully at this point on the paper and the palette, you can kind of see that they're not the same. They're really not. And we'll mix some white into it to show you how and why that is true. Now, when I mix these together, I get that. That's how I get to my mountains. I'm mixing 1-to-1. It's kind of a mid-range between those two. It prevents me from having to buy a bunch of other blues into my palette, is really what it does. I'm going to go ahead and get a little white over here, and I'll mix it. And you can see that's super different than our phthalo, and why I might think this is a pretty nice neutral sky color. Look at that. It's a really ideal sky color. And here's what. A lot of people, here's what. I'm not even going to say here's what again. The thing is that a lot of times as artists, we might, thank you for sacrificing your coffee to me. You are the most amazing in the universe. Put out a little more paint here. I've added more white. You guys see
know what the Sherpa is powered on.
Powered by coffee, just continuing to white. A lot of times artists will choose to add a brown or neutralizing color to their blue, which we will do, but we reserve that for cool days. These two colors together, because there's a hidden primary in here, phthalo blue, green bias, remember we talked about that? So that means that there's, a nice yellow bias in that, and ultramarine blue, which we know bias is red, which means we have red, yellow, and blue hidden in the mix. The two of them together will then desaturate each other. It's like you know, you have friends that just make you a little more crazy and are more likely to, like, you know, jump off the second story, you know, balcony into the pool at spring break. Don't ever do that. It's not a good idea. But if you did, you know who that friend is.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the friend that was there saying, you know, we could just go down to the bar and get some drinks with little umbrellas in them and it'd be just as good.
Mm-hmm.
That's this friend. The friend that gives you the good advice and calms you down. That's who this is.
Now, this is interesting. When you say one-to-one mixing, what is the one?
Well, we just went over that.
Okay. Just like, just want to make sure. Okay, you got that.
We did get it. We did go over it.
I was coughing, so I want to make sure.
He was coughing. He didn't know. Yeah.
Okay.
And again, it's always going to be your one. Whatever you put out, if you put out one plop, you need another plop. Like these are almost one-to-one. I wouldn't mix them all together. It'd be a waste of paint. But you just want to pay attention to how much of the color is being mixed into how much of the other color. One-to-one just means the same amount.
Okay.
Right?
I wasn't paying attention.
I don't need you to pay attention. You pay attention to all the buttons and the stripes and if we're on a different color set. You do everything. You are good. You are good. Now, the other color. I'm going to take my phthalo green. I told you we're going to get into some skies and blues and oceans, right? I was going to short you on this. And then we're going to take some ultramarine blue.
We're not going into the greens yet, are we?
No.
All right.
We haven't left skies.
Well,
and we don't go, we have to go to Stormy Day before we go to anything else.
Oh, that's true.
I made a plan today because there's so much to talk about in color and I didn't want to rush us through and I wanted to make sure that we had a certain amount of information. I can always come back and make a patch video, an update, a 1.0, the new edition, woo! And we can add that into our color mixing understanding, but I want to have a base conversation that we have together.
Okay.
So I'm going to take my ultramarine and my phthalo green, and again, ocean. Now here, it was asked earlier, where are we in the Pacific Ocean? This is one of the Pacific Ocean colors that I like to do. If I go, more into the ultramarine.
So specifically, it's the Pacific.
Specifically, it's the Pacific Ocean. Cooled waters. You can come in there. You can see these are very oceany colors. When we get into the one-to-one, that's the same, right? Same amount of green, same amount of blue. And we get a little bit of white into it. You can kind of see the teal. I got to get it in there. The teal coming forward. So this is like where your 80s teal is at. Remember all the teal?
I do. All of it.
All of the teal. There we go. It's going to be interesting getting around these color mixes as I go. This palette's going to get we may have to switch to a peel paper palette for this show just because we're going to run out of space on this one.
You are?
Yeah.
Is
there a like you do mug? Is there a like you do mug?
Well, not yet.
Like you do.
We'll see about that. That's going on the list.
Sherpa, I think we need a coffee emoji, Sherpa style, huge mug. Well, you know what? When we I think we only have a few Emoji Club members left to get a new emoji, and I'll give you guys some choices, and you guys can vote on your next emoji. Because I was thinking about a color wheel, but then I like that big mug idea, so I might give you guys some choice. I give you guys choices. I like you to have choices. So can you guys take that in? Let's kind of recap a little bit. We did phthalo blue and phthalo green, added white to get into these ocean colors. We did phthalo blue and ultramarine and added whites to get into these nice bright sky colors, but cooler, a little bit cooler. Still a bright day, but maybe more towards fall. And then we did phthalo blue and ultramarine blue to get into these other ocean colors. So that's a lot of blue between these three colors, is it not? And these are very much ones that you always see me do. I do these a lot. This is a Sherpa range of blues that you're going to run into a bunch. This is Sherpa blue. Oh, cool. So when we run out of this, I'll just hand that to you, and we'll peel paper palette if we need to. I probably should have for this video, but I was like, I'll save this paint. I'll put the lid on it and save it and paint with it later.
Peely palette skills.
For sure. Does ultramarine blue come in different shades like phthalo, chica chica? It definitely does. Red and blue shade, and I think there might be a third shade I've seen in ultramarine in some oil paint lines. I don't know if all of those pigments have made it into acrylic. The reason that you see some colors and oils that you just can't find in acrylic is the pigment will not suspend in the acrylic emulsion. Whereas it does suspend in the oil emulsion. There are just some pigments that do not translate into acrylic. You know. Cup, drama on your canvas, not your life. All right, I love it. I like these cup ideas. Here's what. While we're learning, I believe in having fun while learning.
Mm-hmm.
In the comments, all your best cup ideas. I love it. I love your guys' ideas. Sometimes you guys are funnier than I am, more insightful and more tapped into what we're doing than I am. So please, if you think of this and you have a time and you had a mug in your head for any reason, throw it in the comments. You can do that now during live chat too. You don't have to wait to the end of the show. You can like run over there, make a comment, and hop back into the live chat. Tell me your mug ideas, because I don't know, we're busy all the time. No. We'd like to give you guys more mugs, but we don't always think of them.
Can you clarify your Ocean Stormy Day mix? You said phthalo blue.
This isn't Stormy Day.
Okay. No, okay.
This is still, we're all still clear day.
Okay.
So this is maybe colder waters, not stormy. Because sometimes the weather gets cooler and colors cool and water cools and there's deepness and all that's happening, but still a bright, pleasant day. You just might have to need a windbreaker. We haven't gotten we don't need a rain jacket in any of these colors yet. And these are also a wonderful mix of ocean colors. So, and again, remember, we're going to write all this down, but it's phthalo green, ultramarine for all these cooler ocean blues. We have phthalo blue and ultramarine for all these bright skies that might be like top of mountain, cool day, but still bright. And then we have phthalo blue, phthalo green for all my favorite turquoise. Just my base turquoise, that's where that is. Okay? Let's do stormy days.
You're ready for stormy day?
I'm ready for some stormy day.
Everyone's ready for more stormy day.
Everybody's ready for a stormy day. Okay. So, and again, this is just it's not that there are not a lot of other colors I use in a stormy day. These are just ones that you will see me go to all the time. So it's just good to know them. If you're painting with me live or you're painting with anyone live, knowing the color mixes and being very familiar with them will help you get through a lot. Mm-hmm. So let's get into the stormy day. Annette M. Voss asks a very pertinent question. Mixing these colors will work for oil paint mixing as well as acrylic. Yes. So when you're looking at a color mixing book, the only reason an oil color mixing book won't apply to acrylic is oils do have colors that acrylic doesn't. So you might not be able to find, like you're not going to find lead in acrylic. Mm-hmm. And there's some other colors you're not going to find. You're not going to have a $600 tube of acrylic paint, but you might have a $600 tube of lead paint because they used real, what is it, lapis lazuli? Mm-hmm. Or did I just grind up a gem from Steven Universe?
No, lapis lazuli is a real.
But I said lapis lazuli. I think I just ground up a gem. Gem World needs not attack the planet. It is okay. I'm so sorry, gems. My diamond. I really apologize. The Steven Universe fans just went, what? Wait, what?
What are you saying?
She's a dark bird, that one. She's so dark. All right. Base first color. So I've got ultramarine blue and a little bit of burnt sienna. This also works with burnt umber. We're just not doing burnt umber today. So I'm going to put out a little bit of my ultramarine so I know what I did. Get a little bit of our phthalo, burnt sienna, so we know what we did. Those two. Wonderful colors, right? So not 1 to 1. So in this, I would say two amounts, whatever it is, 2 brush strokes, 2 little bits, 2 beads. You just want twice as much blue as you would have burnt sienna. I'm going to come over here, and you can see right away, that's a dark, stormy day. Even as I add white into it, it's just a fantastic, easy way to get into a stormy, stormy day. I do it all the time. And this is not all the colors for a stormy day. These are just colors that I will go to again and again and again in my painting journey because I know that they work really, really well. Isn't that wonderful? Look at that go.
Did you see what Christia said?
Mm-mm.
She said, I wanted to recommend how well my mugs were packed. They were snug and safe. Also, Cinnamon always smiles while drinking out of my Pisces mug. Oh, she'll always smile when drinking out of her Pisces cup.
Thank you so much for supporting our astronomes, our star gnomes. That is a weird side project that I'm doing just because I like to do things and I feel like the algorithm might not notice. It's like the algorithm is like my supervisor and I'm just trying to sneak stuff by it all the time. All right. The other thing sometimes I will do, I'm going to get a little bit of my magenta into my phthalo blue. Not my ultramarine because that will make a genuine purple. And not my cad red because it will neutralize out too much. And this is another stormy day. So one that I do a lot. Not quite as much as this one, but it will come up. You know, it might be brought up. Stormy day. For me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Sometimes over the ocean and stuff, your sky will kind of go a little bit purple. But you want to avoid bright purples on those, right? You could mix yellows into your purples to get there as well, but this is just one that I get into, and I've noticed that I go to quite a lot. If I get a little more blue into it, you can see it goes right in there. And the reason this works is, again, what does it have in there? I hope you could guess, but if you can't, I will tell you.
What?
Since this is green shade and this ultramarine, phthalo blue is green shade. It's got a little bias to the yellow, the blue and yellow, and this is red with blue. The hidden primary is existing in there. Hidden primary, sneaky, sneaky primaries messing with your color mixing, don't they? You can see that tint out. It's always a good idea. And you know what? Make one of these books. Make one. Have a reference. You can label it. You can be clever with it. Maybe we'll print out something for you that you can just print out and do it with labels and stuff so you can fill it in easily. But here's the thing, guys. Make a book. Make a book. Have a reference. Have a notebook. Doodle in it. Mix colors in it. Make notes. Have a resource for yourself. This was something we talked a lot about in the Big Art Quest 2016, was the idea that you have these resources for yourselves. I'm going to have to put the lid on this, John, and get fresh water.
We can lid it.
And I will trade you. I will open up my peel. I'm going to switch to a peel paper palette just because, I'm good for a minute. Because we're going to go greens, and the colors are here.
Okay.
I'm going to change pages, though, guys. We're going to go greens. You ready? Greens. You put up greens.
Okay, let's see.
And then we'll get a fresh cup of water.
Greens.
Okay. Hi, gritty artist.
Now, this is greens for all, or everything, but it has to be all because I didn't have that many characters.
Oh, okay. So this is greens for everything. So I have a green that I get into all the time, and I use it constantly. If you paint with me at all, you will see this green a lot. Can I get a fresh water? So the reason I'm having John give me fresh water, and here's a tip for you. One of the things that's making your color dulls is your water. Your water gets murky. It gets a lot of pigment in it. The pigment's in the brush. You're rinsing out. The pigment goes into the water. Then the pigment gets back into your paint. And we've been talking this whole time about that hidden primary dulling or graying out your color. Great when you want it, terrible when you don't. That is one of the secret places that you might not be aware of that is sneaking into your painting and messing you up. Periodically change your water. You can, if you're wanting to be green, you can do a crash solids water reclamation thing like what Golden does. You can drop it in kitty litter and let it dry out. You can do a lot of things, but you do want to have fresh water. All right, let's talk about the greens that I use for everything. So my green that I use for everything starts with phthalo green.
All right, let's get up here and check that out.
Doesn't mean I'm not going to show you how to mix a lot of other greens with everything else on the palette. It just means that this is the base green that I've always got going on. And then I also use a little bit of burnt sienna. And then we also get into a little bit of my red yellow. That's the first part of it. All right. So here we go. I take a little bit of my phthalo green and I get into my burnt sienna, 1-to-1, even mixture. Same amount of phthalo green to burnt sienna. That is a deep, oh my goodness, Sabrina. From Tinker Quinn, who gave me like the funnest, and this is for artists who want to have a break in their day point today. Thanks for being a light in a dark place, Cinnamon. Sabrina, I'm so sorry there is ever a dark place for any of us, but it is true we have them, and if I can in any way brighten it, it is my pleasure and my joy, and I just want you to know sometimes you brighten my dark place.
Yeah, we really look forward to coming here and doing this with you guys every day, so.
It is our terrific, great joy. I'm going to go more brown as I get back to teaching like a teaching shark. Sometimes I do get to be a teaching shark. When you go more brown in this mix.
She's not even sorry. She's just.
Yeah, I should be sorry, but I really want you guys to know things.
Like, this paint is wet and I'm teaching. Let's go.
I think sometimes what it is the paint is wet. And yeah, paint is wet. And we can always bring more phthalo green into it, bringing it back up.
Doesn't help when her husband is distracting her.
Does not, but you know what? I wouldn't want to do a single minute of my life without you. I'll take you distracting me any day. Once I have that 1-to-1 mix, that's my phthalo green and my burnt sienna, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of yellow.
You all heard it. Remind her later.
You can. It's okay. If I get lost in that, definitely tell me. That's a beautiful neutral green, and I'll keep lightening it up with yellow. And we'll get into later in the greens, we'll get into just the phthalo blue and the yellow where we get into the spring greens. But this is just one. If you paint with me, understanding this mix and how I get there is almost all of our green on green on green paintings. I'm mixing a lot more yellow. Now from here, I'm going to wipe out my brush and I'm going to just get a little bit of this green into my yellow. And we go there. That's a big range of greens. It's necessary if you're doing any green on green paintings to have that one in there. Whenever I'm doing grass or anything, I get into it. And you can always add a little bit of white to really pull it up. All right. Oh, Christina Brenna says that we're too cute. And Carrie Sauer has found all the emojis and she's using them so well. Like, look at her emoji game there. It's like John face, Sherpa face, heart wings, heart wings, heart wings, heart wings. Heart wings. Heart wings. I love the heart wings because it's like, I send you love. I drew that.
It's flyaway love.
Flyaway love. I've done the first video. I have way too many things to do. It's so true, though. Giacomo D'Angelo is showing a pretty good emoji game as well. I'm trying to show, but it won't let me. It won't let me show. So, Giacomo, if ever YouTube grabs your thing because of emojis, it's not you, it's YouTube. I know everybody says that it's not you, it's me, but really it's not you, it's YouTube. There's different priorities it has on emojis, and it won't let me approve your message.
Approve.
It won't let me do it. And sometimes it'll grab emojis, and I love emojis. I have written them. They are unconcerned. I write them a lot, and I have to say, so far, while respectful, while courteous, while helpful, not concerned at my ire at their emoji situation. They're like, yeah, working on it. We'll get that to you real soon. Hi, Donna. Thank you for joining. Hello. Emoji.
Thank you for joining.
Galveston water suggestions. Mix primaries together. That's really funny if you know about color theory. And you know Galveston just mixed the primaries together. All right. So this is Galveston water. We'll take a little bit of blue and a little bit of red. I'm gonna be funny here. And again, you have to. I've been to Galveston, so I get to say this because I lived in Houston. So this is how you make Galveston water.
You're getting closer. Oh, look at that! It's almost there.
A little more red.
Now you're gonna get the foamy highlights. You gotta get some foam. There you go. That's it. There's the foamy highlights. I do
get
say
some
it's
brown in it. Get some. It's not there till the brown's in there.
Get the brown in there. Now, if you really want to do it, you're gonna have to get some carbon black and just drop some dots.
That's not untrue. I did paint Galveston. If I can find them, I'll put them up. I painted Galveston at an art retreat at Galveston, and I did use this mix.
Now, see,
I'm being funny, but I'm also being truthful.
No, you can't walk Galveston Beach without bringing a bottle of alcohol to dissolve the little blobs of crude oil that will inevitably pick up because they are on the beach everywhere.
Galveston water.
All the time. You will get tar on you if you go swimming in Galveston Beach.
Unofficial color mix stream.
It just is.
What's that? Phthalo blue or ultramarine? Phthalo. Okay, Linda, this was phthalo blue, cad red, cad yellow. Galveston. With a little bit of burnt sienna. Let me put it here. I'll put it there. We'll put it as an unofficial mix in the book. That's how you get to Galveston. How do you get to San Jose? I don't know, but I can tell you how to get to Galveston. Oh, moderator Cad Red reminds you guys, remember my free gift for your time today. We'll go overhead. My free gift for your time today is the Dreaming of Color poster. I really appreciate your time and support on the channel. I appreciate the fact that you trust me as your teacher. I appreciate the fact that you work as hard as you do on your end on these classes. So to say thank you, I created Dreaming of Color. I printed this out on watercolor paper 11 by 14. You can actually buy Strathmore printer paper in watercolor for your home printer. It's free. You download it and print it up and frame it and hang it up and know that this is me saying thank you for Dreaming in Color. All right.
Well, thank you for doing that. I think it's really cool.
And it's free. Guess what? Now I will switch. I will let you take, I'm going to grab my palette knives. I'm going to miss this so we can put, I don't want to lose the paper.
Don't
put the yellow lid.
Where's your lid?
The lid's over on the other table, and I'll put out the peel paper palette. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch palettes. I love my wet palette, and it's perfect for this, but I know I'm going to run out of space really soon, and I've got to keep things organized for you at home. So you wouldn't need to do this on your practice page, but for me as teaching, it's something I would want to do so that we keep things kind of clear and together. I got to figure out, because I think I was more over, he's going to have to stunt hands this for sure. Oh, the butcher's wife said her printer died when she needs it most. Okay. We did greens for everything. Now we get to do my favorite gray mix. Shall we put that up, sir? My favorite gray. So I have a gray. There's lots of grays in the world, many, 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 many grays. But my favorite gray in the universe is Payne's Gray. I'm going to show you how I mix it, and I'm going to show you how other people mix it, and then you can decide which way you want to mix it. And you'll see that there's 2 reasons to mix it. Was that clear?
2 reasons?
All right. So
one reason
gray
is
basically comes
awesome.
from a black and a white. That's
Thank
one way
you.
to make gray. Oh, Rachel Pito, and thank you for my pear. I love my pear. I love my pear. Pear. I just appreciate you guys. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to put out ultramarine blue, and I'm going to put out phthalo blue. Now, I'm going to put this one closer because it is closer to my heart. First, it was black. Okay, and so you can kind of see Mars black there. That's the nature of Mars black. It's good black. It's a good black. I'm going to put out white just to, why did it get green in it? Because I got it over that part of the towel. It got on there. So I'm gonna go, no. I just want to know that white paint is there. So maybe the green is, maybe that was the universe helping me out, going, you need it. You need it. Let's paint on my face. Okay. And then we're going to put out some phthalo blue. That is my very favorite gray mix, which I take phthalo blue and Mars black. And this is a cool Payne's Gray. Now, understand, you can look at paint companies, and you will see that some paint companies for Payne's Gray do this cool mix. I'll add more black. And I'll add more blue. It's kind of in that range. When I have a just basic mix, which is black and blue mixed evenly, and you add a little white to it, that is your Payne's Gray. For me, that's my Sherpa version of Payne's Gray. There is another mixture people like to do, and that mixture creates a hidden primary, which is black. I'm trying to get rid of those funny water drops. Let's see if I can get the white out here without any problems this time. All titanium white and ultramarine blue. And some people pick this one. There we go. Because the red in the ultramarine and the black actually, believe it or not, black works as a green. Like if you mix yellow into it, you'll get a lot of greens, especially with this one.
I believe it.
You end up with a hidden red, yellow, and blue primary hidden in there. So when you mix these together, make them here, they're more neutralized. And sometimes you will prefer that in your Payne's Gray. And you'll find when you paint with different companies that some companies tend to lean into brighter, bluer Payne's Gray. And some companies lean in to this one right here. But it's best to know both of them. I generally, on any base gray, I'll probably do this phthalo blue first, just not because it's better or more specifically important, but because I like it. And it's my favorite, and I use it. But I will also use this, and they're both perfectly good. Both perfectly good.
Perfectly good.
Perfectly good. Now, acrylics, you guys are asking about my brands of paint, and I'm going to make a series of brandless videos soon, because I think one of the biggest mistakes that we make as artists is at all worrying about brands, even though it's good to know about brands. I know that's counterintuitive. Those statements almost contradicted themselves, and yet they exist in a temporal state of trueness at the same time. So what I'll say is, here's what I like. I like Golden Artist Colors. I like Sennelier Acrylic and Abstract Acrylic by them. I like Holbein. I like Artist Loft Level 3. I like PBO. I like M. Graham and Matisse. I have brands that I like a lot. And I like them because they have good customer service and they have good quality control, and their paint is very consistent and buttery and nice and has pigments that appeal to my eyes.
Yes.
So, and none of them pay me to say any of that. Though some of them send me paint, which I'll take. I'll take their free paint. It's very expensive to run this show. I'll take their free paint. I'll take their free paint. Oh, we have Debbie Trevino coming in from California. Hello, California.
Hello.
I am from San Diego. Sorry, that happened. I'll do things like that. I will. I have voices in my head. I have characters in my head.
You have many of them.
Right? Many, many, many characters in my head.
I have
In
met
my
a few.
head. In my head. All right. Guess what?
What is it?
Oranges.
Oranges.
Oranges. Oranges, oranges, oranges. And really, we could say these are oranges and corals and those types of colors. I'm going to add my white. Oh, I have a little white up there, but I'll put a little more white.
Oranges. It turned to green somehow. There it is. Oranges.
Oranges. Oranges.
Somehow our orange turned green on me.
Red and yellow make orange.
But we want orange.
Sometimes.
Maybe next time we want some green. So this time we want orange.
So this is why we do a split primary palette. You've heard me say a bunch of times that they're sneaky primary, sneaking into everything. Sneaky, snitchy primaries. You see what I'm saying? It's always happening here. So the primaries sneak in, and they dull our colors. Great when we want. So when we want to make something look natural, and we want to say these are fall leaves that are far away, it's super fun and fantastic to do that. When there are fall colors that are coming forward, we want them to be brighter and more saturated. So, oh, gotta have purples because I've got to do some weird red stuff in there. I got to show you. You know what? I didn't put it in there, but it's another mix that I do.
What's that?
And we'll cover it in the purples. I'll cover it after this. I always make a list and then forget something super essential that I always do.
Which one did you forget? Tell me where it's at and where we need to add it.
It's my my purple and cad red, but I don't know what we put that under. I guess we'll just leave it under purples and we'll say that's a mix that I do.
You want me to add one? I'll add you another one after purples. Just tell me what you want it to say.
Okay. Sherpa purple.
Okay, I'll add
Sherpa purple.
You got it.
We'll add Sherpa purple in there because I don't want you guys not to know about it. Okay. So basic orange is easiest if you work with colors that have a similar bias. So this is a warm yellow, which means it doesn't have any green bias in it. You can kind of see it between these yellows very significantly here. You see how this yellow is a little bit more green and this one's a little bit more actually the color we're looking for. All right. So when you're trying to get a bright orange, you can buy bright orange, and a lot of people do. A lot of people buy Pyrrole orange or cad orange. And you'll get an even brighter orange than the one I'm about to show you if you do cad red light, but I am just trying to keep the palette limited so that we can get new students and they can easily buy the materials and work out budgets and things like that at home because, you know, right now, and I made this decision coming out of COVID, guys, to be real honest, because I knew that we had to create some stability going into 2021 and 2022 because we're all in such a different place in relationship to what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so diplomatic. I'm like, you know, what happened? So 1-to-1, there's your orange. Just a bright yellow and a bright red, a warm red and a warm yellow are going to make a bright orange. You continue to add yellow to it. If you want to lighten it, right, just keep adding yellow. It does not take very much cad red to tint your yellow. And then if you want to deepen your orange, you add more of the red to it. So it's still all orange, but that's how you lighten your oranges. You add yellow. You want to deepen your oranges, you add reds. That's how you move up and down the scale. If you add white into it, you get peach.
Mm-hmm.
Which can be, in some cases, skin tone related. Right? If you want it to be peachier, you add more red. And as you add more red into it, it's going to go more coral, as we mentioned earlier. And we'll get into that a little more over skin tone. Okay, Chica Chica would like to know, is the cloth that am I wiping? Okay, here, guys. Yes, it's a Sherpa cloth. I wipe my face on it. I like to keep it real. I don't want this YouTube thing to go to my head. And so I wipe paint on my face. It keeps me grounded. Celebrity tips. What really happened is John made a bunch of these to see if they would work, and I grabbed them as paint towels before he had a chance to stop me. That's what really happened. Now, we've also got...
So the rule is we have to enjoy it and use it in our studio before it can go out to you guys. And so what I would say is that all my prototypes for that were quickly accepted as useful in the studio. And so I have no more prototypes to prototype with. So I gotta make some more. So the good thing is I gotta go to the next level of development. So we're okay.
Now, this is a range of colors that I super love, which is the Quin and the Cad Yellow. Love it, love it, love it. This is the orange it gives. It's not too dissimilar from this one. It's just a little more grayed out. Right? We go more Quin. We get kind of a nice warm magenta. And if I add red to that color, oh, I love it. The Quin with a little bit of Cad Yellow and white is one of my favorites. Mixing more Quin, less Quin, little bit of white. So not quite peach. And we'll get back into this again, skin colors, but that's where we go with the Quin.
All right.
All super fun, but in our palette, we have another fun and enjoyable range of oranges that other palettes don't have. Because we have Cad Red and Tighten It Yellow, PY53, sometimes called Naples Yellow Light, sometimes called 75 other things, which is why you should read the blog, because I tell you what brands have the correct color, right? There it is. Clearly not the same yellow. When I take my Cad Red and my Naples Yellow, my Tighten It Yellow, get this really groovy color right here. Doesn't really happen with other stuff, which is why I bother.
Butcher's wife's like, I got an idea. Sherpa socks. Do I go get a pair and show them?
What? So that's a really wonderful thing.
That was the butcher's wife.
Mm-hmm.
That was the butcher's wife. She was like, yeah, we need Sherpa socks.
We
Should I show her them?
You can.
I don't know. They're upstairs.
You're here for the color mixing. So this is the Cad Red and the Naples Yellow Light, the Tighten It Yellow. It's this one right here. This one is my favorite. So Sennelier has this color, and it's called Light Naples Yellow, and Golden has a color, it's called Tighten It Yellow. This is a hue. It means it's a blend of pigments to approximate Tighten It Yellow. This is the pure pigment, PY53. Of the two, I do prefer the Golden. But they both work equally well. And this line has a student brand of paint where you could get 120 milliliters for like $3. Mm-hmm. So that's why I like to make y'all aware of these things. I'm going to turn the page and make some more oranges. And then I'll scan all these pages and somehow make it make sense.
All right.
Andy, I think we may be at the next level of emoji. So I'll put up some emoji designs for you guys in the next couple of days. And if you just joined Emoji Club, check the community tab. That's where it is. And I'll say, what emoji do you want? Because we reached the next level of emoji. Because that's what Emoji Club is. And sometimes sneak peeks at Acrylic April. The paintings, anyway. I'm going to take my Quinn and my Naples Yellow Light. But I got ahead of myself because I was supposed to put out my swatches. Color mixing day is a very confusing day. Let's take out our Quinn Magenta.
You went up there.
And then we're going to take out our Naples Yellow. And then this is this fabulous color that we get in between. Look at that. I love this color. This I just love this color. I'll put out some more of it. I love it so much. As it goes more red into it, and then you can go more of the light yellow into it. You mix white into it at any point. It's just stunning. It's stunning all the way down. It's turtles all the way down.
That's true.
You know, it just is. There's no place that I get. This is a color you'll see me do all the time. I would say this is also Art Sherpa signature color, in that you will see me use the quinacridone and the Naples a lot. We're gonna go back to this over skin tones and stuff like this, but this is just a color that you've got to really be present to in every way, right? Mm-hmm. And then of course, you know, we have the quinacridone cad red mix with a little yellow, and that's another orange that we do for both of those. So we're just talking about ways that we get to orange. So that is quinacridone, cad red, Naples yellow, not Naples yellow, cad red, quinacridone, and cad yellow. And they're going to make this orange. It is a different orange from all the other oranges. Mm-hmm. That's why this is a big involved video, and I give you guys a present for showing up, because not only are you going to learn a lot about your paint, do this work, save money. This work is kind of, yeah, it's a lot to make a little color mix book like this, but then you save all this money. When you make the color chart, when you do a split primary chart, when you start to understand your tools, mm-hmm. when you play with your tools and you use your tools, you become more versed in them, and everything you do flows out of you better. Because you're not struggling against your materials. You're playing with them. And play will always feel better to you than struggle. That's a big, broad, general statement, which I probably shouldn't make any big, broad general statement. Maybe you like struggle. I don't know. I don't want to judge you. I don't want to be judgy.
This is a vast of orange.
This is a vast of orange. We have a lot of oranges. And we haven't, done a color mixing thing where we really just, this was a long time coming video. And I wanted to get it done before Acrylic April. Mm-hmm. Because, I wanted you guys to have, there you go. See, a little different. Different. A little different. Now wipe off, and then what I've got to do is get it over here where it can be like, and then bring a little pigment over there. Huh. Because otherwise there we go. So not the same. Oh. Different oranges, wonderful to have. There really isn't a color I can't get to. The reason I put this wonkety yellow, you may wonder to yourself, why would she give me this aggravating yellow? Doesn't she know I'm stressed? Doesn't she know I've got like homeschool now kids and I have to do my job and there's 75 loads of laundry and I got to cook dinner and there's errands to run? Does she not know? And the dog doesn't like the dog food. I do know because I'm going through it too. But here's the thing. That yellow gives me a range of colors that nothing else does. And if we're doing a split primary limited palette, I want to get the most. I want to have the most color. And to do that, I need a green biased yellow. And everybody's got a lemon yellow, but we don't. We have a tight knit yellow. And the other thing that does is that makes our paintings stand out. That makes our paintings different in the sea of same. Chica's like, I will frame it. I won't wipe any brushes on it. I will frame it. All right. I think that we need fresh water, and we're going to go on to the greens. I'm going to do a thing here, and I don't want you to be mad. You may want to hide it from them. I don't want to harm it. They don't want to see it happen, because I'm gonna do a thing with my paint that, do you want them to see? Do you want them to know? That's the choices. You can't take it away. There we go. No paint was harmed in the making of this video. Fresh water. Maybe heat on the coffee. I don't know. And you know, guys, this is a big video. So thank you for coming. It is big. It's a big video. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to come away with a lot. If you're a professional artist, like, so why this video might be helpful to you as a professional artist, having a unique palette that stands out from the sea of same allows you to add into your voice. And that's a big thing for artists. You know, for me as a teacher and having beginning students, I want my students just to have everything. I'm like a mom, you know how you want kids to just have everything. I want my students to have everything. And I know certain things, certain choices I can make as a teacher will facilitate that. If you're just coming by and you're an artist and you're like, what is this lady talking about? Does she know anything about mixing color? I don't know her. Does she know anything about mixing color? It's okay you feel like that. What I will say to you is look into certain pigments that are signature pigments like Tight Knit Yellow, PY53, because sometimes those colors will change everything in your palette. Like, you know, if you have, you know, a unique blue that nobody else has and it mixes in a really unique way and all of your vibrancy is just a little off shift from everybody else, you're the one that stands out, you know, in the show. So that's just a thing to do. But also for my students, I want them to have every color that they can have. Oh, Joan's like, I'm so stressed now. I'm so sorry. I tried to hide it from you. I knew it was going to be a lot. I knew it was going to be a lot. And, you know, and I just didn't want you to see it. We will try to, you know, cover your eyes for your sensibilities as we make those decisions. Greens. Let's put out some blues and yellows and browns. Ultramarine blue. Phthalo green. Where's my phthalo blue? Phthalo blue. Burnt sienna. I'm going to be just like this the whole way. I'm sorry. This green is a deep dive, by the way. Green is not a simple. So here's something. Green is not simple. Green is present in so much of what we paint. Green is the #1 overwhelming thing for new artists and experienced artists. And green is actually the simplest to correct once you understand a few things about the color and all the different green that's actually available to you that was hidden from you that you didn't know was on your palette. So we are going to spend a minute in green here. We're going to spend a section. You're going to want to come back to this section of the video when we timestamp it. When it's in the chapter, you're going to want to read this chapter. You want to build this part of the workbook out. You're going to want to spend time here, because if you're here in green, if you're just coming here, you're just hopping in and there's like, is there anything I need to know? Stay for the green. Stay for the green. So far we have phthalo blue, ultramarine blue, phthalo green, burnt sienna, Mars black. You can't get into greens unless you get into black. And we're going to put out both of our yellows, which is our cad yellow, because we kind of know that yellow and blue make green. We kind of know that. We're aware of that. There's some other colors in here that make green that you don't know make green. And there's some other colors in here that you've got to know about if you're landscape painting. Okay, so Christina's like, can you make sap green? Can you make hooker's green? Christina, yes, you can. And you're going to see both of those hues come by there. So when we make another color, we make a hue of it. It's not that color. It's a color that comes close to looking like that color. I don't have either hookers or sap green swatched out here, but if you're familiar with them, you will see them go by. You'll see the bright yellow green. You'll see the deep blue green go by, and you'll be like, oh wait, there it was. When what I'll say to you is every conceivable green is going to be here. And by the way, Hooker's green is like my favorite name of a green. One, because like there's so many inappropriate jokes one can tell around it, and because crochet people are called hookers, so I can like, but I'm not going to do that today. I'm not going to do that to you today. John is making coffee. All right. So yeah, you can mix any green, you can do any of that, but there's so many greens here. We're going to be here for a second in our greens, and we'll start with the green you might expect, right? We're going to start with the green you'd expect, which is, of all these colors, you probably expect cad yellow and phthalo blue probably make some kind of green. You probably expect that. That seems believable, right? 1 part cad yellow to 1 part phthalo blue should make green. What do you know? It does. Pretty predictable, kind of grade school experience with paint, right? What we remember from Mrs. Super Adorable Teacher's class who always brought cookies, yellow and blue, make green, and that's a good thing to know. Now, as I add, if I want to lighten my green, and I'm doing this basic phthalo blue, cad yellow mix, I'm going to continue to add yellow and not blue. I can get up into chartreuse pretty easily. This right about here is probably somewhere where the complement to Diox purple is. And then I can always add a bit of white to pull that up. That's a nice range of green. And then it's a pretty nice range. It's not bad. If I want to deepen the green without going into any other colors, right? I haven't gone into black, which I could do, but I haven't. You can keep going deeper by adding blue. So you're going to go up and down. If you think of it as a music scale, if you want to go up, create the vibrancy, take it into a spring range, take it into a brighter range, pull those greens forward, make something that's like popping at you, you're going to go more into the yellow. If you want to push it back, if you want to deepen it, you want to make it mysterious, you want it to go a particular direction, And of course, if we add white to the green when it's biased blue, it will go turquoise. It's another way to get to turquoise. And then if I get into the yellow here, into that turquoise, we just start to get so many. Just between these 3 colors, there's a dance, isn't there? There's quite a dance, quite a journey in our world. Lula Bell Hall says, I love Warhammer paints. Goblin Snot. Yeah, that's a good name for a paint. I'm going to tell you how. Oh, look, matches with the cups. Christina says, hi, I'm from Chile. I always watch you and thanks for this live. It helps me very much. I wanted to do this for so long. So glad. I am so glad. Oh, yeah, we're still greens. Oh, did we do greens before we greened? Okay.
I just want to make sure you're bigger.
So that's a lot of green. Just a few colors, a lot of green. I didn't even get black into it. If I got black into it, I could probably do an entire really decent landscape with a black, a white, a yellow, and a blue. Pretty decently, for sure. No, we're green for a while. Green is going to be a hot minute, babe. We're nowhere near purple. Now, here's when new painters kind of run into a moment. So their well-meaning family member heard that they are stressed, and their doctor recommended for their well-being that maybe they take up a hobby that's relaxing, and somebody thought painting was a good idea. Perhaps that's you. And your friend or family member, or maybe yourself, treated you to one of those fabulous kits of paint. It says landscape mix or something really optimistic on the box, right? Landscaping color mix, or 48 colors for every conceivable thing that you could do in the tiniest little tubes you've ever seen. And you get out your paint. You're feeling optimistic. You're going to be like a healed and amazing creative person. You're the next like Pablo Picasso, perhaps Grandma Moses. We don't know. Maybe you're Dean Koontz, but you're somebody and you're going to be painting in a minute. And you go to make something that you remember from grade school is true yellow and blue make green. Kind of, except when there's a hidden primary and they make a green gold. So it's not that you didn't get green, but you got kind of an army color. Not the bright saturated color that you're hoping for. Now, here's a secret. As you paint for a while, you'll love this color because you'll stop seeing it as not the green you were looking for. This is not the green you were looking for. You'll start to see it as green gold and you'll really appreciate it in your landscaping. When it is unexpected, though, it can be very, very frustrating. And perhaps you'll, in your new paintingness, mix a little more blue into it, thinking, I clearly didn't mix enough blue. And if anything, it becomes less green. And you're like, wait, where is this going? And again, because you're new, you might not be appreciating these three wonderful colors because you were hoping to get one of these. But you keep getting these no matter what you do. And then you think, no, what I've done wrong is I haven't mixed enough yellow into it. So you're going to mix a little more yellow into it. And you're like, yeah, it's just not this. And then you're like, okay, here's what it is. Perhaps what I needed was some more yellow. And it's better, but it can't be this. So these are wonderful, but they're not this. And this trips up new painters. I talk new painters down from the art ledge all the time when they run into colors that should have made a color but didn't make the color that they expected. Right? This is all the time. Now, what's wonderful is if you get white into any of this, you also get another really cool range of colors that I just adore. We have a lot of green here, don't we? We're not shorted on this green at all. And I haven't even gotten tricky yet. Green is a big segment. I could do a whole video on greens. I may later do a whole video on green. Donna, why do some people say you should never use black in landscape? Because they don't understand color theory or painting or landscape. And they're trying to be helpful. They mean well. Like my mom, she sometimes says that to her students because she understands that students can become overly zealous with black and dull out their painting. Sometimes people in art get kind of fatigued and they don't want to explain all the nuances of color. And they'll be like, one of the things that they know that they might be able to help a person early on is say, just don't use any more black because they're using it too heavily. But black is used in landscape. Black is important in landscape. Great painters use black. You shouldn't be afraid of black. I'm going to make this simple for every new artist out there. Don't use so much black. You can use black in landscape. Use it sparingly, right? It's great to shade a color with black because it deepens it. And value is super important in paintings. If you can get the value right, you can be all over the map with color. So being able to deepen a color or lighten a color is an important skill. And black is used in landscapes. I think just fundamentally, right? I think what happens to people is that they either are trying to express a complicated experience that they had in their color journey, or they've been trying to explain complicated concepts to people who need to have some more fundamental core knowledge. And in that frustration or in that not knowing, make a big, broad, crazy statement like, never use black. That just negates just a ton of art out in the world. Was that's my side, not their side? Okay. Something crazy just happened in my screen and my screen is gone. And I was just hoping you weren't looking at somebody diving under the C screensaver and all of our desktop icons. They're not bad people. Linda Sue, is that ultramarine? Yes, that is ultramarine. Is there a color chart that shows what colors have what bias? There will be at the end of this on my lesson in our mini book. We will talk about what colors have what bias. And I do believe the best resource for that's really accurate, scientifically accurate of anybody anywhere is Golden Artist Colors blog, Just Paint. Golden Artist Colors on both their paint website and on their Just Blog website have a deep, intense, never-ending deep dive into color, into bias, into wavelength, into everything you need to know, into shift, into all the weird things that can happen to you. And they are delightful articles written by tremendously talented people who are passionate about art education. Just Paint by Golden Artist Colors. Follow that blog. And they do talk about, they will actually tell you, they actually have an organized thing on every paint that they make, how warm it is, not only in relationship to just generally, but to each other. Yeah, it's powerful stuff. And here's why I bring up Golden and I'm like, gush, 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 is because they hire the best of the best of the best, sir. And those people put their heart and soul into it. And they're very scientifically accurate and they really think about it. And Golden is the kind of company, if they make a mistake for any reason, which they don't really, but if they were, they would correct it. They would never try to bury it. Some paint companies try to bury it. I'm telling you right now, a bunch of paint companies are going to be like whistling off in the wind about silicone oil in about 5 years, just like they did over the wrong kinds of resin. It just happens, but Golden will never do that to you. If Golden doesn't produce a paint product, there's a reason. And they're not shady, so they won't go out and make a big thing about the reason. But there's a reason. If they don't make silicone oil for acrylic paint, it's because they figured out that silicone oil does not belong in acrylic paint.
Or there's some other thing you need to know about that.
Yes. And if there's any way to do it, they will figure it out and release it in a fine artist product for you. So if ever you have to check and get through the noise and the craziness and the BS of art, you go to Golden Artist Colors, Just Paint blog. Like, we all thought that underbinding was an absolutism in art, but then they did a bunch of testing and they realized, well, maybe if this cures for like 3 weeks, it might actually stabilize. They will tell you, they will update. They're amazing. Okay, gushing, gushing, gushing. I hope that's Bruby. And is Golden a better paint? Yes. Yes. Mark Golden, and I never remember the other guy's name. Sam Golden and another guy. They created acrylic paint. One guy made Liquitex, one guy made Golden. Liquitex has sold a bunch of times, and that guy isn't in that anymore. Golden has been single family for years and years. Sennelier, great paint. Sennelier has been in business for 260 years. Matisse Deravan out of Australia, I believe, makes a great paint. M. Graham makes a great student paint. There's just a Holbein out of Japan makes a great paint. There's some companies that make great paints. They're about it. They're passionate. They are on fire for color. Golden is one. And by the way, they're in the U.S. and they have a factory. And you can't right now, but you could have toured the factory before coronavirus. All right, Virginia's like, I'm so happy I made it because I needed to know this stuff. All right, more greens. John, we're not out of greens yet.
I'm still here.
All right, since we just brought up, well, I didn't want to save it for last. I'm going to save this for last. Let's go into a color range that, so we've got phthalo green, right? That's our convenience color. Whenever a color is a color that you could mix from primaries, but you choose to have it for the pure pigment, you call that a convenience color because you don't want to be inconvenienced. I'm going to add a little bit of white to it, and you're going to see something very interesting. This is the other reason why I keep phthalo green blue shade around. Mm-hmm. It makes this weird range of colors that reminds me of vintage glassware that's been irradiated. Isn't that crazy?
It does.
This is a pretty unique run of color. It's not fun to mix and hue, and that's a reason why you would keep phthalo green around in and of itself. On top of that, while it's true that cad yellow and phthalo blue make a great green, I'm going to come here and do yellow now. Phthalo green and yellow make a better, brighter run of super saturated greens.
Ooh.
Just even more than that one, this one. And on occasion in your life, you're going to need some radioactive green. Perhaps your pirate ship is haunted and it has an eerie emanation or glow coming from it, right?
Yeah.
Perhaps you are talking about some type of synthetic light. Perhaps you're speaking to light filtering through spring leaves in southern France. It is nice to have phthalo green around for that, just adding cad yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Just adding cad yellow. So that's phthalo green and titanium white, and that's phthalo green and cad yellow. We're not done with green yet.
More green.
More green. Because I told you this is big. With this palette, with my split primary palette, green is probably the biggest color space I have in it. It's and that's the other reason I chose this one of it. So we've done the blue, right? Let's do some phthalo blue with my tight knit yellow, the Naples yellow light. Let's do that because this does a unique run of colors. Not quite the green. These are not quite the greens you expected to get. I had too much phthalo blue on there. Look at that. A little different. A unique run of greens. Sometimes certain pigments will give you unique color mixes. If you're a watercolorist and you have Daniel Smith, you know that moon glow is just a weird color you gotta have. Not that you couldn't do an approximation hue. You probably could. It could probably get done. Look at that. So now I'm taking my phthalo blue and my tight knit yellow, the Naples yellow light hue, and I'm running it out. It's very unique, wonderful range of colors. Now suddenly we're in an English cottage. We've got a little garden going, and all those weird little hollyhock colors and other strange reflections and things can start coming into play. This is really spectacular, great for cottagecore, great for so many painting things that you're doing. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my ultramarine blue. I'm radioactive, says Cad Yellow. All right. And now we're going to get a little bit of our unusual yellow right there. So let's take a little bit of this out and grab a little bit of our ultramarine. Really strange color, almost a gray, biasing a bit green. Fantastic in weird shaded parts of landscape. Fantastic in weird shaded parts of landscape, unusual mosses, weathering. Sometimes these colors can be really hard to get to. Add a little white to it and graying things out. You could have, you know that weird color that tornado stormy skies can get?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Knowing your paint means you know you're saving money when you know your paint. You're saving money when you know your paint. Here's a green that you absolutely didn't know about. I'm going to take a little of my phthalo blue. But what am I going to add to it? What could it be? What unexpected color is going to make green here? Wait, what? But I thought that ultramarine and burnt sienna made neutral gray or stormy sky. Yeah, they do. But phthalo blue and burnt sienna, when you go a little more burnt sienna, start to do a weird off green. And in landscape painting, you can get a really good green out of them. Now, some siennas will have more yellow in them and it will be more obvious. Some will have more red and it will be less obvious. But there's a little green in here that you just don't know you have. These are deep, rich, back of the forest, deep in the range, underneath the rock greens. In the bottom of the pond. And then here's the last one that you didn't know you had on your palette. And back to why we use black in landscape painting. Yeah. Tammy's like, that's a weird green. You know something bad is coming. And you need to have greens that let you, do all those different emotions, right? What if you're doing moody painting? All right, I'm going to take a little bit of my black and my yellow together, and they absolutely make green.
Oh.
So yeah, when an artist says something definitive like you can never use black in landscape,
Never.
I have to ask follow-up questions. There's more to the story there. Either there's something they're not aware of, or they're trying to avoid a complicated color theory question. Because clearly, that's a range of greens. It's not bright green. Nobody said black and yellow made bright green, but it does make green. Woo! Green! Now you know more about green, and you can see what I'm saying. You get all these greens and all these greens. Oh my gosh, that's a lot of green for this palette. How much green does this palette give you? So much green. Could you do a green on green on green landscape? Yeah, you can. You can do any green landscape you want with this. You're never going to have to worry about that again. You have enough green. Do you ever look at a green landscape where it's all just grass and trees and everything's green and the water's green reflection, and you think to yourself, how am I going to paint that? Value and the fact that you have every conceivable green, every kind of weird green leaf that you could have, including the really strange ones. Oh my goodness, I feel good about that. I'm gonna sip my coffee.
Sip the coffee. I got coffee too.
Shay, oh my goodness, everybody give some love to my friend Shay 206. Longtime friend, longtime creator on the platform, does a really great Instagram account. I love her stuff. Super fun, wonderful activist, wonderful human. Very inspiring too in like health and fitness choices, none of which I'm making.
You are.
Ruth's like, thank you, but TBW, you must be in Tornado Alley. I grew up in OK. All right. Now, our next one is purples.
Oh, you know what it is.
Let's hide their eyes. They don't need to see this happen.
Oh, okay.
They don't need to know. They don't need to know.
Taking care of the
traumatize
business.
Anybody. It's fine. These are not the drawers you were looking for. Purples. And I don't think we need to do anything special on the bumper. I think it'll just come up in the thing, and then I'll organize it into the book. What are colors they'll see, like my signature.
Are you ready for a purple?
We're ready for a purple. We're putting out our blues again, and I'll go over each color, what they are on each spot. Shay is like, I know Shay didn't come in to get shouted out, but sometimes you see your friends, and you just gotta be like, I gotta shout this person out. They're amazing. She does cool makeup stuff, and she's good dog pics. She has accounts that I enjoy following. They're enjoyable for me. They are enjoyable for me in every way. And so I follow them. Are you guys doing okay? I know this is like a monster color pendium of just, dude, all the color all the time. Really? Yep, really. Because purple's not as big. Purple is not as big as some, well, it's pretty big because we have to do the yellow. Sorry for my.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm totally fine. I just need more coffee. I just
made you coffee.
You're like, wait, why are you putting out complementary colors with your purples? Because you need to understand this about purple, and you need to know how many purples you get with this palette. Why did I go to these colors? Why did I change it? I mean, I love yellow ochre. Why would I change it? I love me some Prussian blue. Why would I change it? To make it easier post-COVID for all of us. And also to make sure you get the most out of the least amount of paints that you have to buy. That's why I did this. Most color out of the least amount of paints that you would buy. That's what this palette does for you. You look down in the description. It's going to chapter mark out where these are. We're going to timestamp them. You can find any color mix ever again. We're going to write it up. You will forever have this resource. It will always be here for you, helping you through your journey. You can see the colors down below. the affiliate links, you don't have to use them. Amazon raises and drops prices. Just know what the colors are, right?
Know them.
Be a smart shopper. Be a brandless shopper. Be informed. Know what you're looking for out of your products more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Shay came in to hang out. By the way, just so you guys know, you don't have to paint and to chat.
Mm-mm.
That's not a ticket. You don't have to be participating. You can come by to chat just because you need to talk to people. That's okay.
Yeah, we enjoyed just hanging out.
I know you got friends here. I know sometimes, right now especially, for many of us, I know many people's restrictions are lifting, but many people are in super lockdown. So depending where you are, this could be your only social everything. So I totally get that. I'm like that. I'm still grounded.
Mm.
All right. Purple. Did we put it up yet?
Yes. We could put up some more.
Okay. Well, they have it. All right. Purple, 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 purple. How I mix color. All right. So let's start out with a basic thing. I've got quinacridone magenta, ultramarine blue, phthalo blue, cad red medium, dot oxazine purple. I have the tight knit yellow, sometimes called light Naples yellow. I have cad yellow, and I have titanium white. I'll explain to you in a minute why you have the yellows. It's just something that you need to know about purple, especially in painting, to understand how much purple you actually have. I think sometimes we think we're restricted on the purple when we have a full spectrum of purple. But the first purple that we want to know about is the one on this palette that works out. So that's a quinacridone magenta. Any magenta will be true for this, and an ultramarine blue. All the time you'll see people like, I never use ultramarine blue. I'm like, why? It's a cool color. Makes a bunch of cool stuff. Why? I'm going to mix the two of them together, and I'm going to get a very nice purple. It's not the same. A little more red. It's not the same as Doc's purple, but it is distinctly and for sure purple. I go a lot deeper into the blue. Almost get like a nice little indigo here. That's a nice little range of colors. Right? Wonderful. Wonderful, bright spring, sunsetty, dawn range of colors. Add some white to it. Like, let's get a nice lilac going here, right? Look at that nice light lilac.
Yeah, right over there, just right off the screen.
Where?
You kept mixing colors right off the edge. I switched screen. You can see.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Where
you're fine.
Where am I messed up? Okay.
You're fine. I was reading chat and something.
Thank you, MZ615. All right. So that makes sense, doesn't it? Kind of, for sure. But like if you do like quinacridone magenta, we talked about this earlier, and some phthalo blue, mix those together, you do get purple. It's a different kind of purple. It's much deeper and darker, more like an indigo, more like, even as you add yellow to it, it's just not quite the bright colors that we have up here. You can add white into it, but it'll still feel purple. Just a little bit grayed back, a little bit knocked back. So maybe if this is the top of the flowers in the sun, this is the flowers in the shade. Right? If you're doing a nice, lovely little group of flowers, that would be the top in the sun and the top in the shade. However, and this will come back up again, and I won't get too deep into this because I know this is going to come back up again. And it's the only reason Cat Red is even out here. There's two reasons. My signature purple thing that I do in sunsets and this. And we'll come back to this in a minute. And all I'm going to say about this is it ain't purple. We'll talk about this in a minute because we're going to go to chromatics. So that's all we're going to say there is that ultramarine and cad red does not make purple. We'll come back to those colors in chromatic blacks.
All right.
Now, I also have my Doc's purple in this set. And Doc's purple does some cool stuff. First of all, let's get some white into it. And you're like, oh yeah, you're right. It's different than the purple up top.
You have to tell me when we get to that special colors that you were talking about?
I'm going to.
Okay.
And tell you when I get to the best. I still got a minute.
Yeah,
Purple's
that's okay.
pretty big too.
Just let me know.
You can see just coming up as you lighten it, adding white. It's there. It's a lovely purple, a little different than this. And it's so much richer. You're never going to get these into this range of depth. You can use this purple as a black on your palette almost.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to turn my page. Turn the page. All right. So I see a question about the yellow. So I'm using the Tight Knit yellow. This is the Light Naples yellow. These are, and I showed this on the studio setup, but I'll let you guys look in here just real quick. Same yellows. See? Sometimes this yellow has different names. That's why I try to tell you all the names, and we wrote the blog. I love this yellow, and I'm sure one of the moderators will drop the blog. Jenny Baltazar says, oh my gosh, I can't believe me in one of your lives. I love your vids. You're amazing artists, and I follow your videos all the time. Emoji, 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 emoji. Thank you for the emojis, by the way. I love emojis. I think they're an ultimate form of communication. They're the only thing that keeps us, from falling into like a crazy hole and murdering each other over text. I just believe it. Sometimes you got to emoji so people read what you said in the tone you said it. Because things read differently can come across real different, and then you end up in an online fight on Facebook, and your kids are looking at you like, don't you know how to be online, Mom? All right. Okay. We did purple and the purple and white. So one of the things that we do have, and I very much like, is let's put out a little bit of the Doc's purple. These are all the ranges of purples. And you'll see me do this a lot in flowers and things like that every time I go into wisteria. This isn't the purple we were talking about, John, don't worry. I'm going to take a little bit of this purple, and I'm going to mix these two together. You see how these go together?
Mm-hmm.
If you add more blue. So this is just kind of in that indigo range when you've got an indigo. When you got an indigo, right? When you got an indigo, a little grayed out, and that's because of just the intensity. And you can see it happening there. Isn't that good?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we know where that is. What's another one that you get? Hidden primary, for sure, is going to come up in the phthalo blue. Doc's purple, because phthalo blue is green shade, which means it has a hidden yellow in it. And for sure, Doc's purple has a strong red, which means together they will gray each other out a little bit. So we're going to mix them together. And so it's just a little more grayed out, as you can see, than what's above it. There you go. Look at that. A little more grayed out. Still purple. Don't get it twisted. It definitely is. And when you're working with purples, being able to get a full range, a lot of people don't know how to get a full range of purple. They're very purple limited. Purple rain, purple rain. I can't sing. Well, I can. I will do it. Obviously, I can. Evidence. Not like I can sing like I should go on a singing show, but I do sing, and I will not stop because it is joyful. Like you should not stop painting because it is joyful.
And because of fair use copyright laws, she can sing all she wants.
MZ16 says, best colors in the universe, and I'm the best artist, and your art is so pretty. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Why? Okay.
Actually,
I'm going to gray the purple, and then we'll do the purple that I always do. So wait with the Sherpa purple, and we'll just gray. One of the things you need to think about.
Wait. Are you on Sherpa purple?
Not yet.
I didn't think so.
Okay. So I've got my Doc's purple, rinsey. Things you don't know. And I've got my Naples yellow. When you Doc's in Naples yellow, you're still purple. It using complements like this, look at this, creates some incredible, this is where you get the putty colors. If you've ever tried to get putty or off purple colors that transitions in sunsets, shadows across rocks or flowers sometimes, this is the must do. Look at this.
Oops.
As you add yellow, it grays it out. The distinct purple is still there. You can always get into you can get a white into this. Look at that. So many purples.
It's a lot of purple there.
So many. And you're fine. That's a lot of range. How many? You got almost as many purples as greens, and I haven't even done the big one. You ready for this? I wish like the music would come. Are you ready for this? I hear it in my head. All right, we've got our cad yellow. Complementary color paintings are some of the strongest paintings that you can do, but that means you're going to have to paint the complements.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So this is what you need to know about the purple when you add the yellow to it. You get a little more purple into it. Where does it go? You need to see what that actually is. This is what it actually is. Beaches. Just sandy beaches all the time. Get this in here. A little more purple. A little more purple. There we go. Sandy beaches all the time. Wet sand, sandy beaches, under rocks, shadows under trees. These are things you need to have. All right. And just as John gets up, I'm like, I'm not freshwater. We're going to be doing the Sherpa purple. Sherpa purple. So this is one, and this is so funny, and this always surprises people. I think it's super important to know about. I think it's super important for shading reds and for controlling your sunsets, for controlling bright red fruits, bright red flowers, poppies, any of those things. Because a lot of times when you're painting, you've got to figure out how to control your cad. And purple can tame your cadmium red paint in a way that nothing else will. And it'll create some really important color mixes. I use this one all the time. So when I want to darken my cad red and I don't want to use phthalo blue, and we'll get into, why we're not using phthalo blue when we get into chromatic black. See how that's dark? Mm-hmm. And then as I add red, it gives me a way of creating gradation in what is a pretty darn bright paint.
It really does.
So I can go all the way across here, and get a lot of result in everything through that. It's super important. If you don't really, and one way to understand or see what the color really is add some white to it. See? When you add the white to it, there you go. Let's add a little more white to it. You can get a little purple into there. Hey, a little more purple. Like, so if I get the red and the white and the purple, this is also one of my very favorite things to do. Little red, little white, little purple. And now I have the color of a faraway cloud on a sunset. A lot happening here. Shay is saying it's a gorgeous brick color, and I agree. And again, you can tone back cad red with phthalo blue, but I think we're going to use that more in our chromatics and our other colors that we will be mixing. I hope this is like really showing off that this palette is a powerhouse. This group of colors are all colors. There's so many paints out there. There's so many pigments I love. This is not a limited number of pigments that I love. This is a set of pigments that you as a new artist can get into and mix. Everything always says it's landscape colors or it's modern colors or it's this mixing set or that mixing set. No, this mixing set is a mixing set. This mixing set will take you anywhere you need to go. You're not going to be at the end of the thing going, I can't get that color. Because some mixing sets will leave you with a color you cannot get. You don't need that. That's not a problem that you need.
You don't need those problems.
You do not need those problems. What you need is something that delivers while you are working out your art journey.
All right.
Right?
Now, is this where you have to reset the palette again?
Uh-huh. Don't let them see.
Okay, let's see what we can do here.
Da-da-da. If you like these videos, you should probably subscribe. Don't pay attention to what has happened to the paint. We may need new water pretty soon, too. All right. So what are we on to? Skin tones. And I went, That's so terrible. Skin tones. And I groaned. All right. Let's just get into it. I have one. Oh, new piece of paper. Skin tones. I realize that there are very important conversations happening in the world about skin tone. And I realize that there are very ridiculous conversations in the world happening about skin tone. We're not going to do that. We're going to just do what artists do, is we're going to look at skin tones from the basis of how can we compassionately, respectfully, and in recognizing each other's basic core humanity, paint each other without falling into like stereotypical traps, you know. And this isn't about all the stuff that's going on out there. Not that that's not important. It is all very important. But as an artist, when I'm doing skin tones, you know, I'm trying to paint somebody as they are. And whether it is I'm doing a portrait of my aunt who's passed for her daughter, and I want to make sure that I paint her without having some crazy skin color, like it goes green or it goes blue or it doesn't look anything like her, or it's too dark or it's too light. I'm trying to paint her humanity. Whether you're a person of color and you're painting somebody who is fair-skinned, or whether you're a person who's fair-skinned and you're painting a person of color. And let me explain that that is a big, broad thing, because there are thousands of skin color recipes. As artists, it is just our job to do our best to paint what we see, how we see it, from a place of love, consideration, and compassion. So when you hear me go, it's because right now online people are really about it. And because they're in their kind of social dissonance space where like they got like a really strong feeling about something that you don't know about, and then you say a thing and then they're like, at you, and you're like, I did not even know we were there. I sigh. Outside of that, I actually like to paint skin tones. I do. I really like skin tones. I like people. Lots of different ones. I like lots of different ones. And I think it's an important art skill. I think it's important to paint people respectfully. Mm-hmm. I do. And that goes all the ways around, in all the ways that we paint each other. It's a big, broad topic.
It is.
It is a big, broad topic. And you can be unintentionally hurtful if you aren't, you know, compassionate, respectful, and try to do people to the best of your ability.
But we're addressing the pigments today.
We're addressing the pigments. What? Are you silencing me?
No. I'm agreeing with you.
He's agreeing.
How would I silence you? You have a mic. I guess I could.
I don't know. There's a curtain.
Doop. See, she can't speak anymore. I have a mute. I do have this in real life, but I guess I don't always use it that way. That's my power for evil, I guess.
No, that's your power for good.
Is it?
Yeah. I think you only use that power for good. I think you're like, and my wife doesn't want to look at the consequences of this.
Whoa, that's gotta go.
Marriage is what brings us together. So I'm going to pull out, which skin tones? Oh, thank you, Deborah Evans. I appreciate that so much. We're doing light skin tones first. So I'm going to put out, and we won't have to change between light and dark skin tones because there's a lot of commonalities in the colors, which is great. And I have lots and lots of skin tone mixing recipes. We're just going to do some basic stuff here real fast to go into it, to understand what this palette can do. If you want more information about that, I have more videos. Let's put out some ultramarine. And we're also going to put out some black and some white. I'm not going to put out phthalo blue. Ultramarine is what I like to kind of up and down my skin tones a little bit. You could do purple as well, and some people like green. But again, there are thousands of skin tone recipes.
You're putting out Mars Black, but I heard in a rumor that you should never use just white or just black in a skin tone. Is that true?
You know, I never strong, often's true. Sometime, and we'll go into it. That's more of a when we get into a darker skin tone question. And then I'm also going to give a recommendation on somebody who's an expert in this area.
Okay.
Right. So if you need to know more, I'm going to give you the little bit that I know, and then I'm going to give you some recommendations of deeper dives that you can take in this area.
Because the more you know.
The more you know. The more you know, the more fun you'll have while you're painting. We are trying to paint to have fun, right?
I'm just watching.
Aw.
Watching, have fun.
Okay.
Thank you, Deborah.
Okay.
And all of the people who've been generously supporting us here in chat today.
Sweetheart, give me a quick mute.
Okay, hold on just a second. Okay. Well, so
we're not fighting.
16-year-old daughter chat aside.
Things are fine in the universe. All right. So I'm fair skin tones. I like to start with base mixes. And in this particular mix, I'm going to just start out with one that's pretty fun, pretty obvious, and you can get into right away, which is your let me tell you the colors. Ultramarine blue, cad red, quinacridone magenta, burnt sienna, tight knit yellow or Naples yellow light, cad yellow, Mars black, titanium white. We're going to get into this one. The Quinn and the Naples yellow light. They do actually just kind of on their own without too much modification, a pretty decent, very great cheek blush. Adding white to it, very light fair, kind of high pink, because sometimes people have a real high pink range in their skin value, right? So you've got that. It's a little pinkish. You would do it in ears or tips of fingers or, places like that. Let's get a little more yellow into it. It'll go a little more skittish. See, when you get a little more yellow into it, a little more of the Naples yellow into it, and there's some white in just a little bit. Maybe bottom of a baby's foot on a very fair baby. Ends of fingers, backlit skins, kind of nice. This is just a weird, unique space in this set. Right? It is. And then if I add a little white and then of course a little burnt sienna to it. Look at that. And then maybe a little more yellow in there. That's a lot, isn't it already?
Yeah.
You're like, wait, what? Yeah. If I have to get a shadow in on it, I'm going to get a little of my ultramarine. Is one way to get shadow, believe it or not, on skin. Another way is a smidge of black. I don't use it a lot, but it can be a nice way to shade an area. And I tend to look at this like, if I have a shadow that's cast in a bright area, I might go more ultramarine blue. But if I have a shadow that's cast like under hair or something, I might go a little more into the black. Brenda, I have a personal question. How many children do we have? We have 3. And here's, I will share something very personal to you. I did not start having kids until later in life. I did not have my first daughter until I was 34. And we had kind of a journey getting there. And then we waited. I did at home. You don't need to know this color mixing video. You can fast forward through this if this is not your thing. We did a home childbirth. I'm not advocating for it. I'm just saying what happened. And I maybe didn't have the greatest midwife in the world. And it was kind of a crazy birth story, which maybe someday I'll tell somebody. And so I waited a bit, not really up for having another kid. And then at 39, I had my son. And at 42, I had my daughter. So I say this to you now because I remember when I was going through this baby journey and being an older, I hate to say older because I don't actually think it, but it's what they put on the medical charts. So we'll let them have that because they want it so bad. But being a mom that they want to put into that category of geriatric pregnancy, It's nice to hear somebody that did have a kid. I remember that used to really give me some optimism and some hope when I was trying to have a baby myself, is to hear other mothers who were not 22. Not that there's anything wrong with being a 22 mom. Go 22 moms. But being a little bit older, trying to have a kid, it was really doable. I didn't have to do runs of fertility drugs. Not that that's not okay. It is. But, you know, it was definitely a thing. And I definitely didn't have the third one at home because they wouldn't let me.
They wouldn't let you.
They were like, no. What? Why would you want to do that? Do you know how old you are? And I'm like, can you stop telling me how old I am? I know my birthday. They just kept looking at me like I just didn't know what I was doing. They're like, do you know how old you are? I do know how old I am. I feel like I'm mature enough to have a third. It just took me a minute in my life journey. It took me a minute to get to a place where I was ready to have kids. Yeah. And that's just how that journey went. It's not that we were anti-kid at all. It just, I did not mature as fast as other people. Oh, Christine Smith, I had my last son at age 40. I think I had my niece. MZ615 says, I wish I had beautiful art just like you. You know, your art is beautiful. And you need to know that and believe that in your heart, MZ. Your art is beautiful. And as you keep painting, your art will become more beautiful, and you will be the best artist you can be. And then you will be the artist that everybody else wants to have beautiful art just like you. But I do see a lot of people saying, hey, I was, a mom who had a kid older. So if you're here and you're color mixing and you're doing that because you're going through the baby dance because you're so stressed, because we all know it's stressful, and you heard this message, I hope it was helpful to you. And what's crazy is I know like 2 years from now, somebody's going to comment, go, were you talking to me?
Yeah, I know this. This was for me. No, it's true because
we're here together in these long classes. We got to visit. So next mix of colors, right? So I'm going to take.
We're still in the fair skin tones.
Yeah, we're still fair skin tones. I'm going to take my Cad Red. All right, we're going to go Cad Red. Maybe Cad Yellow. I'm going to get into a little of a burnt sienna. That run of them, okay? And white. Right, that's a run. And I have a whole video on how to do like skin tones from primary colors, but we'll go over it again just a little bit. So I'm going to take my Cad Red and actually get a little white into it because I want to get the value first. That's how light the skin tone is. I'm going to get the value first. And you'll notice already that does almost a skin tone.
Yeah.
Cad Red's just a weird color like that. Or fair, red, like if you're Irish and your skin is super reddish,
this is it.
Wear some sunscreen and paint your skin. Okay, so I say this as somebody who has to too, so no judgy. I'm going to take a little of my Cad Yellow over into it, and that will get it a little more into that traditional Barbie skin tone color that Barbie used to have. $9.99. Shay says, thank you for sharing your knowledge about being a source of light and love. You helped me on my art journey in so many ways, and you continue to inspire me. I am proud to be any inspiration in Shay's life because she's doing some mad, awesome art stuff out there in the world. So there we go. We got a little bit of a, still in the you better wear some sunscreen range. Mm-hmm. Definitely not gonna tan. No, I can like look at somebody and be like, they don't tan. Not because one, I don't.
No.
I freckle.
I
used to have a hope that I could become one big freckle, but I found no, I just become very bright freckles against red skin. Didn't work for me. I wish you luck in your tanning journey, but wear sunscreen.
Now, it's not universal, but it does seem that freckles indicate a lack of sun resilience.
I do not have sun resilience.
Not universally so, because I've met some folks with freckles that are like, no, they just stand in the sun forever.
Getting a little more into our European range over here.
It's not as common.
When you get into the Eastern European, the skin will tend to cool a little bit. The undertones become a little bit cooler. And that's really rather kind of nice. You can get a little more brown in here and a little more yellow in here and a little more red. We're getting into a more, stronger skin tone there. Oh. So it's just a little warmer. There's a little run of basic. Yeah, these are just basic guys. Basic. And of course, you can put your ultramarine in there to create like a shadow on the arm. It's a weird thing. Or go black. Either one is fine. It's just about knowing where your shadows are. I like to use ultramarine blue to shade my skin. That's just me. What colors would you use to make freckles on fair skin? I would probably pull into an orange and then get a little bit of my burnt sienna. And then I might little white in here. Freckles. And then make sure that I kind of change it up. What you'll want to do with freckles is you will want to make sure that you don't have all the same color. Freckles have different values. I'm just using the corner of my brush here.
They come in many different tones on the same skin.
They do. They do. Each freckle has its own little personality. And so it's important to make some that are very light, and some will read darker and stronger, and you want to vary up the shapes.
You know what's interesting?
There we go. So you want it sometimes about a shade lighter than the skin tone that you're working on. And you can do this like, it's really fun to paint very deep skin, very dark skin that has freckles.
Yeah.
That's a really fun challenge.
Freckles are almost universally unliked by their owners.
Yep. Except now, let's do this. The young people on the internet, on the TikToks.
On the intertubes?
On the intertubes. The young people on the intertubes seem to have embraced freckles, and they like to draw them on and wear glasses and braces as a matter of fashion. And I have to tell you, that's a really surreal experience to have come from the 80s when you were just beat down for any of those things.
Yep. You're a pariah for having glasses and braces, and now it's a fashion statement. Like, I want this like fashionable pink jaw set that I get to wear to school. I'm like,
Andy McHugh would like to let us know, as a Scotsman.
Very Highlander name.
Right? I tan reasonably and tend not to burn.
Ah. Now I have to question though, is he measuring this via the sun in Scotland or the sun in San Diego? I'm not saying that they're a different sun, but the amount you get is different.
I'm saying that he's just saying that he's an exception to the rule, and he's a tan Scotsman, and we need to include that diversity.
I think that the Scots can just yell at the sun and it's a little afraid. So
one of my very, very good friends is in Scotland. Tanya, she's Tart and Taz Creates. And I have to say, honestly, she can say the anything to me, and I just enjoy her accent so much. Isn't that crazy? But you know what I don't ever have people say to me? Like, they're never like, I just enjoy your American accent so much. Which makes me wonder. I think about it. MZ615 is still being very sweet about my art, and I want to thank MZ for this just very generous, loving outpouring on the channel. All right. Okay. But it's okay. I don't mind you spending the love, MZ. You want to send love, send as much love as you want. As long as we can get the chat around you, we're good. All right. Okay, so those are some just basic general thoughts on fairer skin tones, right? There's more. It gets deeper, right? Because we can go into an orange, and then get into, our Naples yellow, and then get into, white. There's no end to it. Because skin tones are a lot of skin tones. So many. And then on one person, there's a lot. Because shadows and just you have different levels of pigmentation in your skin that present differently. Sometimes your skin's very thin, so more of your blood vessels show through, and some of us have more of a blue bias and a pink bias, and it's a whole thing. All right, shall we do dark skin tones? I'm going to sip coffee while John puts up dark skin tones.
Okay, let's see here.
All right, dark skin tones. Oh, all right. So before I got into this, right, I'm going to say this. Whenever you're a person, you tend to paint the people around you, so you become the most versed in what you see in paint all the time. This is true of me and many, many artists. To that end, I'm going to tell you what I do in relationship to dark skin tones, but I'm also going to say check out Alfonso Dunn, who has deep dives into all of the things that you need to know about painting people of color from all over the world. And it's really excellent information. And if that's something that you're looking for, that is definitely a place to go. And also conversely, Lena Dene does light skin tones. So there's good artists out there that go deep into both of these topics. This is a light visitation for this palette. Explore more, learn more. The more you know, the more chill you'll become about everything around you, quite frankly. And the less cognitive dissonance you will have in your life. If you don't know what cognitive dissonance is, look it up. You'll laugh.
It's worth a quick look.
All right. Cinnamon, I need to watch your skin tone video. I'm so light and I burn easily. However, I am Mexican with an olive skin tone. So Tessa Hearts, that is such a good point. So here's the thing. There are generalized statements that we can make about things, but there are billions and billions and billions of people. And there's so much genetic diversity that even within those generalized thoughts that we would have as an artist, you still want to approach every subject and every moment in a personal, observational space. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Also, sun's strong.
Sun is strong.
And
sun is
it's
strong.
Misleading. Like if you're
Lena Dene says, does Linda Sue? Yes. She paints herself a lot and she's very fair. So just damn, it's like I'm a nature girl. All right. So the first thing I'm going to say is, the burnt sienna, this burnt sienna, it's okay. It's pretty good. It's a mid-range brown, and that's very nice. And it does work in general. I would also want to make sure that when I'm working this, I'm going to add some cad red. And some cad yellow. And the reason to that is I'm going to make some orange.
Yeah.
And when I get that into the brown, right, I'm going to start getting some skin tonal variants. Look at that. Because we have blood vessels. We have all kinds of values and warmth and cool in our skin.
Yes.
So you can go more yellow into that and a little more brown, but we started kind of with an orange. There we go. There we go. That's a very nice. And you can add white, right? It's not that you can't add white. You can add white. What I find is sometimes I advise against getting a little crazy with the white, especially if you're painting darker skin tones, because you can create a situation where a person will look a little ashy instead of shaded.
Gotcha.
Right? But it's not that you don't use white or black to deepen or lighten a skin color. It's just you have to be present to when is this working in my favor and when has this taken my portrait into a strange and unusual direction that I don't want to post online.
Right. And
by the way, if you're not sure, you don't have to post online to get feedback from every person that you've never met.
Right.
If you're like, I don't have that day, that's okay too. That is okay too. I'm just saying, when you're in the learning space and you're not sure, you can do that. When I get black into it, see, you'll notice what I mean. It's not, that doesn't really, that's too green. I could use it as a shadow, but I wouldn't really want to use it as a base tone. The orange into the black, I wouldn't. However, I would absolutely enjoy brown and black together. That's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then come up a little bit brown. And you can get a little magenta into it. It's very interesting. Space you can go. Look at that.
Ooh.
Under a wrist. Say I was coming around bottom of a foot. You can get a little bit here. You got to find the exact right spot. I'll need a little more brown into it. So there's spaces to go. Right?
Yeah.
Spaces to go. I'm going to take a little brown maybe and a little yellow because they actually do some nice stuff just together on their own. A little brown and a little cad yellow. And then I can get put a little quin into it.
Yeah.
Look at that. I got a little quin into it. Get a little quin with it. Come back into some brown. Because you have to remember that on everybody, palms, lips, noses, ears, fingers will have big, like you might have an overall kind of skin tone, but based on light and the thickness of your skin, there can be like stuff can bias a little red, stuff can bias a little dark. The other thing I want to suggest is on very, 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 very dark. I'm going to go very, very, very dark. Right? And again, please check out Alfonso Dunn because he goes into a deep, deep dive on this. Don't forget the power of blue. Just, it's important. And that way, when you get into a lighter kind of space, you can get into that kind of blue light reflection. When you do photography, if you're photographing somebody who has very, 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 very dark skin tone, and you're trying to get light, you know, like a good kind of space, you'll notice in the lighting that there's just a beautiful kind of almost blue reflection that will happen. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. It's something that you'll notice when you're just looking at people as they are. Right? Just look at people as they are. You know? That's my thing. And then just be like, how would I get that color? Of course, if you stare at people a lot that you don't know, can get you in trouble.
It's true. People kind of get weirded out when you just stare at them. You're like, I'm not creepy, I'm an artist. That doesn't help.
Actually, it has. It has. I saw a young woman and she was very stunning, very unusual skin tone, and I was probably doing the like too hot, you're like boring into her, and she's like looking over at me, and I'm just like, I'm an artist and I'm just working it out.
I'm gonna
she
guarantee
was very
you
tolerant and
that,
nice.
like, if it were a young man with an artist pencil, she would probably still be like, "You stay back."
Because art. So we have a very good friend. We met him when we were in college, and his whole game was to draw girls. That was his whole move.
Yeah, see, there you go. He had
that was his whole move.
And
they would be like, "Why are you staring at me?" And then he would show them this beautiful portrait of them, and they would be like, "Oh, that's so nice."
That's right.
He did real well.
He had art moves.
He did real well. He did real well, and I highly recommend it if you're doing that. If you're going to be staring at somebody hard, have a good reason for it. Just because the world is crazy. Okay, guess what? We're not done, but we're getting there. Let's do the palette thing. We're going to go on to browns. Aren't you glad we bookmarked this? Aren't you glad?
It's true.
Okay, so of course, you know, we're going to put out some colors that you'd expect, but we're also going to put out some colors you might not expect. And I have a big video on how to mix browns, and it actually does involve many, many of these colors. So, you know, you're good there. I'm going to put out, we talked a little bit about this with the purple, so I'll put out a little more. And I'm going to put out some black and some cad red. And again, this is just I put out the wrong yellow.
Oh.
I grabbed the tiny yellow. That's okay. You're good. You're good. Because we need to also talk about how to get like to a yellow ochre and some different kind of browns and neutral colors in this palette. I didn't put yellow ochre in this palette. You could always add yellow ochre. It's probably of the colors that we're mixing, maybe the more annoying one to get to. So, you know, if that was one you wanted to add in above and beyond what I had done, we're there. Did we put up brown?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to mix some browns. And the first one is, obviously, we have our brown here. Right? In this palette, we've got this wonderful brown. Now, this particular brown, I find the one from Golden is a little redder, oranger, and this one's a little deeper. Yeah. Every burnt sienna is different. We accept this reality of the burnt sienna. When we add white to it, we get kind of this off white color. So, you know, and you're trying to get into like sands or things, just that. And again, that could be into the flesh tones depending on who you're painting and what kind of lighting or shadow or highlight is going on. You've got to decide that. The other brown that you've got to think about is my favorite, and I mix it all the time, is the brown and black. So this is when I take a burnt sienna and I burn it just a little bit more. This is why I don't have to bother with the burnt umber in my palette, because I have this particular option. And even when I get a little white into it, it does behave a lot like a burnt umber. So that's when I take burnt sienna and add a little black, gets me kind of into a burnt umber range, and it deepens it and it makes it much more useful. Oh, Emmy says that she draws dresses, or I'm making an assumption here. MZ, I don't know your pronoun. But if you draw dresses, you got to check out my friend Zoe Hung, who is a fashion illustrator and instructor, and fantastic. Let's get into some yellow ochre. So we're going to take a little bit of our burnt sienna. Diana Angel, brown. I was waiting. She's like, brown, 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 brown. I love it. I love brown. So I'm with you. All right. We're going to take these two together. These two, we're going to get into these two. And we're going to talk about a little bit how we could get into maybe some of our ochre colors, right? Because that's what we maybe don't have as much on this palette is yellow ochre. You know, as you go up, and you can get some yellow into it. And it does behave a bit as yellow ochre. I can also get some red in there. So we definitely get into those ochre ranges. So that's why I felt like I don't really need to add ochre, because we can get to it easily enough. Easily enough. The other word space I can get, because I've got this here, is the red and the black. So red and black make brown. Make a lot of browns, actually. And that's why I wasn't worried about the bias of the brown that I had from Sennelier. Let's add some yellow into it. That's pretty much all the browns. Except we have more browns. I'll add a little white. So we've got a lot of neutral colors.
Yeah.
These are a lot of neutrals. We have more than this. We're just like looking into this. We're getting those basic mixes you've got to know to paint along. The other one we might have, a little green. And a little red. Green and red can also make a good brown.
Yeah.
You'll have to bias it a little more to the red to get there. And sometimes I like to add a little yellow into it if I need to. Almost take it to that orange. See how the orange really gets it there?
Take it to the orange.
Sometimes you've got to take it to the orange. Take it to the orange.
I know those days.
Right. That gives you a little range of those neutrals. And as we mentioned before, sometimes when you mix, no, not that one. Let's do Cad Yellow and Doc's Purple. Right, we're going to do Cad Yellow and Doc's Purple. 1-to-1, they do make a type of brown. So if I take my Cad Purple here and I mix it 1-to-1, you will get to a chromatic brown. So whenever you hear someone say chromatic black, chromatic brown, what I'm saying is there's no brown pigment in the paint necessarily, but the hue is brown to the eye. And you can see it actually is. So that's a little different than those neutral purples that we did. We took it brown. So those are a whole range of browns, and you can take a little bit of the brown that I have here and a little bit of the purple. This is one of my very favorite mixes. I've done it on so many backgrounds. Doc's Purple and Burnt Sienna mixes some wonderful colors. Look at these. So if you're trying to create that moody, still life background,
yeah,
this is where that is. That's a wonderful, wonderful range that I love to get into, or get my Doc's Purple into my Burnt Sienna. I love to put my green and brown together to get into their greens, making a bright orange. Into a brown. Let's make sure there's paint out. So that's the burnt sienna and a bright orange, right? So if we have a burnt sienna and a bright orange, we get another nice little range of browns. So any pets, any trees, any things that you need to do, you probably have that range here. You can get the blues involved. You can get all of that involved, and you've got a big run of colors. The color mixes work with any colors that the pigments are the same. The reason Mary Piven is like, does this work with watercolors or only acrylics or what? All of it. All of it. Color mixing books, for the most part, will work for any mediums that you have as long as the pigment is in that medium. Shall we hide it?
Oh, let's see here. We can do that.
Don't forget to subscribe. Hi, Ashley. Hi, Ashley. How are you doing? And I see Daphne. Sandy says that there's a beautiful little old Ukrainian woman that rides her bus. She always has these amazing hand-sewn colorful clothing on, even her winter coat. I would love to paint her. And I find that, again, when we stare at people randomly, they're a little bit hostile. But when we put it into context to be like, as an artist, I'm just fascinated by you. Mm-hmm. It really does help them put down their guard. People just don't want to be attacked. Let's be honest. Nobody wants to be attacked or have anything weird happen to them. So when someone's behaving in a way that's untypical, you might be like, whoa, what are you doing? But you just got to be like, no, it's okay. I'm an artist, and you're just gorgeous and amazing, and I just want to paint you. People very rarely, I'm not saying it never happens, because there's billions and billions and billions of people, and there's a whole spectrum of everything in the world. And sometimes puppies and rainbows make somebody enraged. But for the most part, you'll get a good response. Thank you, Ashley. Christy Ann Richardson, question, what colors make beautiful sepias? Well, I think we got into some of the sepias here, definitely through the browns, for sure. And you can add white or black into those to tone those up and down. Let's go into grays. Grays. So when we do grays, we're obviously going to put out black, because we know black and white makes a wonderful gray. Right? We know that. We know that totally.
Let's see here. Hold on, let me get your grays up there.
And we know complements make a beautiful gray. And this will kind of carry over into our chromatic blacks as well, guys. So hang in with me here a little bit. whenever you mix complementary colors together or every primary together, you're going to get a gray, a brown, a black, something in that range, depending on where you bias the color and what you push it up and what you push it down and how you work with it. And the black, everything that you put in the black can create a gray. If you painted watercolors with me last night, you might have noticed that we were doing a lot of blacks that were biased a certain direction. And sometimes I think as artists, we forget to throw those biases into our blacks. Like we already did my favorite grays, which is the Payne's gray and the blue gray. So if you want to see my very, very favorite gray, you know, definitely hit that. Like you're hitting it up. You're like, I'm going to go hit that. However you get there. Right? And then we're also going to put out burnt, is that ultramarine blue? I'll tell you all the colors that I have so you know what I have. And then how we're going to mix them so you're not confused. And then again, we're writing all this up. And hopefully I explain this in such a way that that's a very doable thing. So I've got phthalo blue, ultramarine blue, phthalo green, cad red, Mars black, titanium white, cad yellow medium, our tight knit yellow, Naples yellow light, and our diox purple, grays. So grays exist in complements. Complements are opposite colors on the wheel. So if colors are opposite each other on the wheel, they're going to gray each other out. You'll hear artists talk about that. Knock it back, throw it back, push it back. Color wheel stuff. If you want to know more about the color wheel, I have tons of videos on that. And it's good to know. All right. So our first thing is we've got some, nice Mars black. All right. That's great. And we can definitely mix our many shades of gray. So let's start with just a little bit of white and our black. And we can just keep adding white. This is the basis of painting, which is the value that you are creating, right? How light or dark something is. It's its value. Right? Woo! So white and black make a great basic gray. More white means it's lighter. More black means it's darker. That's a lot of stuff. You've got a lot of stones and everything that will get into that. That's really good to go. I'm going to put some black down here just so I don't have to swatch it again. Because I know I'm going to do some swatching. Because I want to show you guys some stuff about the mixes of blacks that you maybe didn't see. Right? Now, we know that if I add red to black, I definitely get some brown. Right? But if I add red to the gray, I also get some very important variance in my gray. You see how it's still gray.
Yeah.
But there's a slight red bias. As a painter, that's super useful to me because sometimes I'm painting a stone and the stone has a little bit of a red cast to it. All right? We don't want to not have that going on. So let's say I've got a little black and yellow. That's interesting. We haven't talked about that much, have we? Black and yellow. Well, we know that makes the green, right? We know that makes a green, but it also makes, well, probably at this point, not shockingly to you at all, a green-gray. Wonderful when you're painting metallics. There's so many times that you might need a green gray. Will we be painting a green gray this acrylic April? Probably. And you can keep going lighter and lighter and lighter as you need. Yeah, probably. You can always, and then just to say it, let's just also acknowledge that there is a black that happens here with the Naples yellow light. I'm going to put the Naples yellow light out in a second and add another swatch of black for the green black. Look at that. Still gray.
Yeah.
Haven't even gotten any white into it. Slightly more biased yellow. I'll rinse it out and make sure that's there so we track that. So that is my Mars black and my tight knit yellow. There we go.
Wow.
Make one of these books.
That came together nice.
Yeah, it does. Totally does. Now, there's also, and I think it's important, let's get some green on here, the black and green.
Yeah, they were just asking about that.
Yeah. So it's wonderful. I'm going to mix just the two of them together. And then you see it as soon as you get the white into it. A little more green. Because sometimes you would have a little bit of green in your gray. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could be like, oh, I want a little more green in my gray. Look, it's a bright green gray. And you better believe that you've got the same thing happening, right, with your purple and black. Not too noticeable when it doesn't have any white in it, but the minute that you get it in there, there's a gray that biases purple. Right? So I'm going to take a little of my red now, take you to a place you didn't expect to go, and a little of my ultramarine. And we're going to mix those together and add some white. And you're going to see a wonderful run of grays that happen there. If I take my red, my blue, and my cad yellow, right? If I go more into the blue, phthalo blue, right? It's going to become a potential gray. So that is, you know, the primaries. Primaries mixed. So if you add more blue to your primary, it's going to probably go more towards the gray. If you add more red or yellow, you're going to be playing around the browns. So that's just something to, you know, be aware of, think about, and play into. Now, with that, I'm not going to change my thing out. Just really quick, on our way out, we're going to talk about Chromatic Black.
All right.
Because I have the colors out that I need.
You ready for this?
I am. I'm ready for this. Chromatic Black! And then we did it.
Then you've done it.
All right. I'm going to take a little bit of my cad red and my ultramarine, and I think you guys kind of have been seeing this go around. You can mix cad red and ultramarine together and get what is essentially, to your eye, a black. You absolutely can in this palette. For sure, get a chromatic black. You could also kind of get there. Cad red and phthalo blue will also kind of get you there as well. I'll put it down and then I'll put the swatches out. So, a little bit there as well. And we'll white those out so you can see that. So what it is your warm red in either of your blues will get you to a chromatic black. The other chromatic black that we have, until we add white to it or anything, TheArtSherpa purple can be a chromatic black. For the purposes of our painting, absolutely. Until we add white or a lighter value into it, it's going to be a chromatic black. Now, if I add a little white, you can test out if something is a chromatic black pretty easily by adding white to it and go, does it go gray? And it clearly does. And both of them will go super, super, super gray. So cad red, ultramarine blue will get you to a chromatic black in the set, and cad red, phthalo blue will get you to a chromatic black in the set. The cad red and green is probably going to get you to a brown. And that's just something to know when you're painting, because maybe in a moment of painting, you're like, you're not going to go get the black. you want to use a chromatic black. What you'll notice is the difference between the chromatic blacks is they have a little bias in them, whereas the Mars black with titanium white's a very neutral down the middle black. So black has black pigment. Chromatic black appears black to the eye, but does not have black pigment. Guys, we literally wrote the book on basic color for this palette. Now, let's go over it again.
Okay.
Let's recap so you know what the work you did was. Oh my gosh, I had no idea we did this many pages.
All right, we're going
I
back
knew
to
this
the
was a big project.
So are we fully recapping?
We're going to just kind of look through it again.
Okay,
and see
so we're
what
going
we
to
did.
start with the reds.
Oh, no, So first I just want to say that you guys, because I appreciate your time, because it matters what you do, this is your free gift from me. There's a link in the description down below on where to get it. And you download it and print it out. And this is these colors and all of the colors you get from them. I personally believe that this is an ultimate split palette, primary palette set. It does have a couple of the convenience colors. It does have a few of those things. But really, even if you took the brown and the green and the purple out of it, you probably have figured out that you could get to almost any color that you needed to with just the split primaries. And yes, hopefully now you have a better understanding why I would bother with this hinky, weird, strange yellow. Right? Very strange little yellow. You're like, why is she with the yellow? Now you know, because it makes unique, special colors that you're not going to get with a cad yellow lemon or a lemon yellow. Right? And I just don't feel like the bright green you get from a lemon yellow, because I can get it with the phthalo green. I don't think it's worth it. So that's why we did it, so we could have those special colors. All right. Now you can put up things if you want.
Okay. So we're going to go back. We're going to recap. We're going to do the
reds.
So
these are my favorite reds. We went over. We did my favorite red mix. You can see we have all these here. I did my favorite blues right here. I mix these colors all the time. We got into some of my stormy colors that I tend to always mix. It's not that there's not more blues to mix. It's not that there's not more colors to mix. This palette will go and go and go and go and go and go. I haven't tested it out, but I would bet I could mix 1,000 different hues with this palette. Right? And we went into my favorite greens that I personally am always mixing with my phthalo and my burnt and my yellow, and this is all the range. Then we went into what happens when you, somebody said, how do you make Galveston watercolors? And then we mixed those using primaries. We got into the favorite gray I like to do, which is a Payne's gray, and that's about adding either one of the two blues into my black to create a series of blue bias grays, and that's a lot of them, and they're really beautiful. Then we mix the oranges that we can get with this palette, and clearly there's a lot of oranges, right? This is not a small amount of orange. There's a lot of orange there. Still more orange. All the oranges. You can paint all the sherbety orangey sunsets that you want for days and days and days and days. Here's greens and the greens, and you can see where we have some unique special greens that are happening, and the greens go on. Here's some more of these weird unique greens that we get. We talked about how you can use black in landscaping, and here's the green that you get with black. Then we worked on a bunch of purples, right? And I showed you how these two don't make purple. They make a chromatic black, which we visited back again at the end. And we talked about all the different ranges of purple. And there's a lot of purple. Look at all these purples that you can get from this set. You don't got to, this is every tube of paint that you could see in somebody's like color collection that you have in just these few paints. This helps you save the money. Then we're like, we talked a little bit about skin tones and that this palette would give you a fairly great range of skin tones. And there's more you could dive into it. We even freckled some skin. You can get everything that you need to out of your skin tones from this palette. Yes, of course, you can add more colors to your skin tone palette. Don't feel limited. I'm just saying if you're on a budget and you've got to have just, I can only have these colors, this is a way to get there. I'm just showing you a way to do that. Browns. This is all the browns. And see, we have a lot of browns.
We do.
We have a lot of browns. Besides the fact that we do have a basic brown. Burnt sienna. Grays, chromatic blacks. That's pages and pages and pages and pages of color that you have from Cad Red, Medium, Quinacridone, Magenta, from Cad Yellow Medium, and Titanate Yellow, from Ultramarine Blue and Phthalo Blue, from Dioxazine Purple, Phthalo Green, Burnt Sienna, Mars Black, Titanium White. All those colors was from this palette. I'm just going to let that sink in.
Yeah.
So Virginia Walsh says she loves this. She did a color journal with my mom, and she's loving this too. She likes these type of deep dives.
Mm-hmm.
Always do a deep dive with your colors. And here's the thing about starting this. You can add, as you buy new pigments, I have other pigments. Other pigments exist. I see them in the store. Sometimes they call to me. Sometimes a little voice comes out of the pigment tube and says, Cinnamon, Cinnamon, I'll change everything for you.
Psst, come here.
The best painting you've never done is inside me. Don't ignore my price. It doesn't matter why I'm a Series 3. No, wait, I'm a 9? Oh, but it's okay. It'll be on sale. It talks to me, and then I buy it, and I bring it home. And I have lots of wonderful colors. Pigments are play. Pigments are fun. But we're coming out of a really extreme time. We're on a limited budget. You can find these colors, even these colors, at a plethora of budget spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We watch a bunch of financial stuff. You've got to watch the budget. This is a great place to get to the budget. You do this video. Well, we've got this, you make your own color book. You mix the colors. You do my color chart, my split tint tone change chart. I know it's crazy to do, but we have it written up on how to do it. And you watch the video. You do the color chart. You do the wheel. You do this. You watch my color wheel video. You don't have to go. You can buy more paint. You don't have to buy more paint. Right? And, I hear from you guys all the time. You're like, I love painting with you, but it feels like every time I go to paint anywhere else, if I don't have their colors, what am I going to do? You're fine now. You go paint anywhere you want. I will never let anyone put you in a corner. You paint anywhere you want. You don't got to buy their stuff, or you're free. Be a free artist, painting in the world, doing all the things, because that's what understanding your palette can do. Oh, so Leslie wants to know what's the difference between Mars Black and black. Okay, so there's a bunch of blacks, and I actually have a video about all the blacks and chromatic blacks, and I cover really the deep down differences of them, but generally it's the source of the pigment, the depth of the pigment, and the tinting strength of the pigment, and a slight bias color. I use Mars Black. It's a modern pigment. It's the most stable, color fast of all the black pigments. Though lamp black, I mean, let's be honest. There's some black that's been on some like cave walls since like the dawn of man. So clearly it's a stable color. Even the ones that are based in carbon, like lamp black. So, it's just about what your preference is and where your color control is. And the other reason is Mars Black is it's a cheaper one. Its quality and it's cheaper. You make these decisions in your palette. Clarissa Collins says, I'm a little late, but I'm here. Well, you know what? Late is still lovely, and we're so glad to see you, and you made it, and everybody sent her a hug because you made it. And it's so nice to see your friends, even if for a minute. It's always that feeling you get to the end of the dinner party and everyone's going, but you at least want a hug, right? Little hug. All right. Did this help you? I'm sure it did. I hope I delivered on the promise of this video. I got to make a better thumbnail, I think, so that people know what I actually did here.
Yeah.
I had a hard time conceiving the thumbnail on how to explain it. I just was like, I don't know. It's how I mix my color.
It works.
This is how I mix my color. This is why I pick these colors. And these are the basics. If you can do this, you can paint my 3 hoots. You can paint anybody's thing. You can paint everything. You can go anywhere. Be free. Be free. Thank you for your time today. Your time, your patronage, not just the financial patronage, but the patronage of your presence and your attention means a lot to me. I believe art should be accessible to everyone. I believe everybody has a right to art education. I believe everybody can paint. I really do. I think everybody can paint. I think these skills are learnable and everybody has a better painting in them. Now, if you're doing Acrylic April, you're ready. There's 2 more videos coming up that everybody should do, which is how I do my clouds and how I do my water, because I'm going to talk about brushes and techniques. And that will help you answer any of those deep new questions that you might have about like what's happening with these clouds. What's up with your cloud brushes? Why aren't you using them? All that stuff that you might have been wondering, I'm going to answer and get into and make better in your world and easier in your world. It's almost April 1st. April is coming. Wait, there it is. Acrylic April is coming. And we're about to change everything because we're going to paint better in 30 days. I really invite you to take part of that program. Because it's the thing I'm most proud of because it changes people's lives. Oh, Trisha Wood, Tony Woods joined Emoji Club. I think we have a new emoji. I'll have to check. Watch the community tab next 2 days. I'll give you an emoji. Is it going to be a color wheel or is it going to be a giant cup of coffee?
Who knows?
We don't know, but it'll be something. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. And I want to see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.